Bob, can you hear me? Bob? Bob, can you hear me? You're muted, Bob.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now Todd's in the middle of joining. I am going to turn the host over to you.
All right. I don't think that this is being broadcast. So I don't think we have to wait for, you know, whoever is, I don't even know if there's going to be anyone here from public access.
Okay. Well, that's fine. Just, you know, when I shut down, make sure that your record is on the top left. You'll see where it says recording.
Yeah. And so I'm seeing that you started recording, and I'm just hoping that you started the recording on the cloud, not on your local computer.
No, it automatically goes to the cloud on this account.
Well, then that's great. Then we're all set.
We should be all set. So with that, I'm going to sign off. For the members that are listening, I have no power, so I'm running on battery and a mobile hotspot right now, and I'm draining fast. As soon as I'm able, I can sign back in.
Okie dokie. Ask the members to unmute themselves. Carl's unmuted. Jack, if you could unmute yourself.
I'm muted, and then I'll unmute when I want to talk.
Yes, sir. Todd's not muted. Rich. Joanna and Butch. Connie, Kona. So I see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're missing Ken. And Ken is participating from work today, and he is on duty. So there's a chance that he'll either won't be here or he'll be in and out. So it's 7:02. I apologize for the slightly late delay beginning. But as you may have heard, we are having some technical issues in that our conservation agent has no power, and he usually starts the meeting. I'm Bob Pease. I'm the chairman of the Conservation Commission. I'm going to read the meeting opening. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast. No, it's not. It's being recorded, and it will be broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel at a future time. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19 coronavirus, is currently following the guidelines from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Mass Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent this virus. And all town facilities are actually currently open to the public with certain precautions. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. This meeting will be found on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting. To participate remotely on Zoom, members of the public may use cell phones, tablets, or computers with audio and video capabilities. The Zoom meeting ID is 867-7339-8717. No participant ID is needed. Just press pound when asked. All participants who are not members of the commission or staff will be muted by the chair. Computers and app users may use the raised hand feature to request to speak. To access the raised hand feature, open the participant list by clicking on participants. To raise your hand, click on the button at the bottom of the participant list. The chair will call on you and unmute you. Telephone audio users may dial *9, excuse me, to request to speak after joining the meeting. Members of the public must give their names and address before they begin speaking. Please direct all comments to the chair. If you're having trouble accessing Zoom or have general questions, you can send an email to lcc@lunenburgonline.com during the meeting. I suppose, Matt, then if you do that, Matt does have his phone and he probably could give me a call. Emails containing questions or comments that are to be read aloud must be signed with full name, address, and phone number, but I'm not sure that's going to work tonight. Please be aware if you're using video, other people will be able to see you, and anything that is broadcast will be recorded. The agenda lists all topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those that are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. And so to get started, let's just make sure, see who we have here from the commission. I'm Bob Pease. I'm here. Rich Birch. Well, we'll give Rich a chance to unmute himself.
I am present.
Oh, look at that. You're good, Rich. Katie Childs is not here. Carl Luck.
Here.
Jack Rabbit.
Present.
Todd Dwyer.
Here.
And Ken Jones. I don't see Ken Jones. So, son of a gun. Announcements. I have an announcement, but I'm going to do it at 7.3. Any comments from the members of the commission? If you do, please raise your hand. Jack Rabbit.
Just real quick, call out to Matt Morrow. I've had one of the local residents call me. This windstorm has just knocked a tree down, and it's in the front yard and part of it by the lake. So if you could give Dave Orem a call, I'll send you the number separately, Matt.
Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? Carol Luck.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'd just like to, given that we have a vice presidential debate tonight, I hope everyone can help move this along so that those of us who can't record and watch it later can hopefully make most of the debate. So
I wish you good luck with that, Carl. We got 11 hearings and 3 appointments tonight. Any other comments from the commission? Any comments from members of the public? Please raise your hand. John Fortune, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, John.
Hi,
Go
can you
for
hear
it,
me?
John.
It's John Fortune, 50 Hemlock Drive. I'm speaking on behalf of Hickory Hills Landowners, Inc. This evening. We have started the siphons as was previously approved by the commission. They're working well and as expected. So we're drawing down the lake. Unfortunately, the boat ramp is no longer usable due to the shallow water, and several residents cannot remove their boats. In the past, Hickory Hills Landowners has asked the commission for an emergency order to allow us to remove some gravel so the boats could get to the launch. That worked when we were drawing down to 3 feet. Now that we're drawing down to 4 feet, the boat ramp has become no longer viable. So I'm asking the commission again to consider an emergency order to allow Hickory Hills landowners to remove a hump that's sitting on the lake side, if you will, of the hole that we dug in the past of gravel to be able to pull that out of there so the rest of the residents can get their boats out of the lake.
Any comments or questions from commissioners? Jack Rabbit.
Mr. Chairman, I did pull my boat out this year via the ramp, and even when the water had, prior to siphoning, it was difficult. I had scraped. So I would totally support and any kind of emergency measure that this group would initiate to allow them to remove that section of that ramp, the dirt in that ramp, the gravel in that ramp. Should I make a motion? Is that motionable, Bob?
It's, well, let me just say a few words.
Okay.
Okay, when this, a similar situation came up about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, the commission issued an enforcement order to Hickory Hills Lake, directing them for reasons of safety to, remove the soil at the boat ramp so that boats could be safely removed from the water.
Okay, that's fine.
And so I guess I'd be looking for a motion. If there's no discussion before the motion, certainly there would be discussion after the motion, to direct Matt to issue an enforcement order to Hickory Hills Lake to make the boat ramp safe.
So moved.
Do we have a second? And by the way, right at the moment, Todd was experiencing a lot of static, so he logged out and is attempting to log back in. So right now we only, Rich Birch.
Do we have anything in writing for the request, Bob?
Not that I know of. This is, I don't think we have anything in writing. I think
No,
we could ask Mr. Fortune to send an email, to the commission describing the problem right now. And we could take this up again about after we do LSIC and the talent bank forms.
Okay, yeah, I would have no problem with proceeding as you have described. I would just like to make sure that we do have the scope in writing prior to the commencement of the work. And that's just something I would feel that the agent could supervise at this time.
And I agree with you. And I think, Richard, as always, you make an excellent point about the need for documentation. And so, John, can you right now compose an email describing the scope of the work, the need for the work, and send it to the commissioners and myself?
I have, I can do that. I certainly will send it to, I have your email address, Richard's email address, Jack's email address. I don't have Carl's, but once I get it to you guys, you could forward it to him. I may have Carl's actually, but I will do that and send it to you as soon as I get off here.
Thank you so much. Carl has a comment before you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you for recognizing me before we go further. I have no problem with giving them permission to do what they need to do to get rid of that bump.
We're not giving them permission. We're ordering them to do it.
Well, that's not what I said, though. I have no problem giving them permission to do that. I have a problem ordering them to do it for safety, because we've had other cases where we've said that personal property is not a good cause. So I think we can do it without calling it a safety issue, because I don't think it's a safety issue. I think it's a personal property and a convenience. And again, I have no problem approving it, but I have more of a problem approving it based on safety.
All right. Well, I don't think the motion that was made and seconded it.
It was seconded, Bob.
Huh?
I don't believe it's been seconded. I don't think.
It doesn't. So I'm going to call for motions again. And I'm quite sure after your comments, Carl, that the motion will make no mention of safety.
Yeah, that would be good.
I would accept that amendment.
Well, we're not going to do that now.
Okay.
Rich, we're gonna give John some time to write an email, and we're gonna come back to it. Okay.
Very good. I appreciate your time.
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. You don't have to log off or anything if you don't want, but if you just send an email, and we're gonna go on to Lake Shirley now.
Very good.
Okay. Oh no, I'm sorry. We're gonna take our first hearing is deed restriction, final version, enforcement order 183 Island Road update. Is there anyone here for 183 Island Road? Please raise your hand. I don't see anyone. If I look in the cloud. I see a folder for, and I see a signed copy of the deed restriction. Does anyone have any, and I believe this was discussed at the last meeting in my absence. Does anyone have any comments or questions about the signed deed restriction? Carl?
Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, Carl had his hand up.
Yeah, at the last meeting, there was only one change of a word. The signed document we had at the last meeting wasn't acceptable. We had one word changed from grading to altered, I believe. So as long as and I think we said that no one had to represent it as long as the wording was changed.
All right, well, let's go back, take a look at what it's on the cloud.
Great.
Do you remember what the word was?
Yeah, we should have been altered
Altered.
instead of grading. And I think it occurred in two places.
Could you do you have access to the cloud,
Yeah.
Carl? Can you take a look and see?
Yeah, I'll go, I'm looking here. I got it. I got the cloud.
And then there's a folder. It's the very first folder.
179,
Alphabetically, at
yeah,
least when I pull it up. It says no additional grading within 50 feet.
That's the wrong word.
That's the wrong one. This is shades of hemlock all over again, where we carried that as an appointment forever and ever. That's what we have in the cloud, and absent Matt's presence to tell us we have a different one, I think we just should move on to Lake Shirley unless there's further discussion or comment. Is any, Jack Rabbit?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I didn't see it and I don't recall exactly that it was part of our discussion, but if I could, we could add that there would be no water dispersed from the pool within 100 feet of the lake.
That wasn't part of any of our discussions up to now.
Yeah, we've had them with others and I don't know how I missed that. I don't.
I mean, right now, okay.
It would be a violation if they did. I'm just saying, let's make it real clear to them they can't. We're not asking them to make any physical changes, run a pipe or, run a flexible pipe out 100 feet beyond the water. That's all.
There any other discussion? Seeing no further discussion, I'd like to move on. I'm going to lower your hand, Jack.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
I'm going to move on to the next item, LSIC request for a field change to drawdown order of conditions. I assume Wendy is here for LSIC, and it doesn't even look like you're muted.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you, Commission. Joanna's also on the line if she wants to make.
Can you speak up, Wendy? I can hardly hear you.
Yeah, sorry. I think it's my hair covering all my microphone. Is that better?
That's much better.
Sorry about that. Thank you for having me. I appreciate your time this evening. And why we're here today, I'm Wendy Gendron, and I'm with the Aquatic Restoration Consulting, consulting on behalf of LSIC here, requesting a change to the order of conditions. It's item number 4, which is achieve the target drawdown depth by or before December 1st. And we're requesting an amendment to change that to be by or before December 31st in order to have the ability to achieve the target depth in the event we have a more wet fall/winter. Of course, as we know right now, it's probably not going to be an issue this year, but in the past, we've had trouble achieving that target depth before the 1st of December. So we're asking for that flexibility to change that date from the 1st to the 31st. And I believe we discussed this in a prior hearings.
Okay, Carl, you got your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I know well the difficulties of getting the lake down and would support this request, but I have a question because it was suggested the night that this order of conditions was approved, it was suggested by a member of the commission that the date be December 31st, and it was rejected by the LSIC. And I'm wondering what has changed.
Well, I think just after further discussion on the issue, I think we were really trying to get a final order of conditions approved at the time, because as you know, we were behind the 8 ball in terms of the timing at the when the order of conditions was issued. So I think that was, we didn't want to create additional changes for that. And there was a concern that we may have to go back to the fisheries service to get that change. But after other discussions, it seemed that talking with the agent that this administrative change could be possible. So we're here to discuss that this evening.
Thank you.
Can anyone advise me? I'm getting a message from Todd that he's in the waiting room, and I have no idea what that means or how to help him.
You have to admit him into the meeting.
Yeah, go to the participants list, Bob.
I'm on the participants list.
Okay, and he should be sitting there.
Todd, oh, I got 3. Admit.
Yeah.
I've never had to do this before.
There you go.
I just admitted 3 people. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. I see him at the top. All right. Todd, are you with us again? No, not quite yet. I have a whole bunch of people in the waiting room. God bless technology. Got to change that in the setup somehow, which I have no clue how to do. Security, share, enable waiting room. We're going to unclick that. Shit. Oops, sorry.
Oh,
I agree.
I don't know how to unenable the waiting room. All right, well, looks like there's one person waiting, Steve Marsden, and he's joining. So,
Yeah, Steve's on.
okay, good. All right. So, any other comments or questions from commissioners? Yes, Jack.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if memory recall is correct, I believe that the DEP actually established the December 1st date as the date in which you had to achieve your drawdown. I don't have a problem with going to the 31st because I know it's a concern with all lakes. Do we have to do something special to notify DEP we're amending this?
Well, I know we did this last year, Jack, and I don't remember that we had to send anything special to DEP at that time, but certainly when we have communication with our agent again, we can ask him. And, you know, and if it's necessary, he can do it.
Yeah.
Rich Birch.
I think, like Jack said, I think December 1st is the target date in the GEIR report. And that was why we had used that. And that was typically their target date historically. And I thought we had put language in there that we could extend it if the circumstances were such that it needed to be extended.
But then Shirley Conservation didn't agree that it was an emergency situation, as Mr. Luck shared on the previous conversation with Hickory Hills, that it's not for safety. So they didn't support it, if you recall, unless it was in the order of conditions. So your recommendation last spring, Rich, was to update the order of conditions with the December 31st date.
I thought we had some language in there as to a procedure for extending it past December 1st. Unfortunately, I just don't have it available to me. And it doesn't look like Matt's put any of the relevant history on our cloud for viewing by the members.
I can try to find it.
I have it up if you'd like me to share my screen.
Here.
And I might recommend, Mr. Chair, where
Yes.
you did point out that we have 11 hearings this evening, that it may be gather a little bit of testimony and give us a chance to review it and continue this on till the next meeting, where it isn't relevant at this point, because the next meeting will still be in October.
That's true, and unless we get one heck of a lot of rain, the whole thing's not going to be relevant.
Our consultant's here, but they, oh my God.
You have a comment, Joanna?
No, I'm good. I'm sorry. I thought it was on mute.
No, that's okay. Any other comments or questions from commissioners or from the applicants? Then Joanna and Wendy, I suggest that we take and if you could put all of this in writing. We did get an email from Joanna requesting this, and I did ask Matt to put it on the cloud. I'm surprised it's not there. You know, but it was just an email asking, you know, and she said, you know, if I recall, said we're simply asking that extend the drawdown time till December 31st. So, but if you could go into more of the, address some of the issues that were raised tonight. Do you have any questions, Wendy or Joanna?
No, I'll just add that Richard is indeed correct, that on the GEIR, the General Environmental Impact Report, the DEP likes to see drawdowns completed before the December 1st. And it's, you know, it varies between the lakes on how far you can get down and obviously the weather. But the reason why they do that is for the fisheries concern. And they don't necessarily state you can't do it. They just recommend that you get in touch with the Division of Fisheries Service if you wanted to go beyond that date. And I don't believe that they would have much of an issue with this, and I think they've allowed it in the past. So in the commission, I believe, has the jurisdiction to make that determination and decide whether they're going to just amend the order and inform the DEP and the Division of Fishery Wildlife, or you're allowed, obviously, to reach out for them to comment.
I hope the commission has that authority because we did it last year.
Right. It's up to you, essentially, is what I'm getting at, whether you want to ask for permission from DEP or the Division of Fish and Wildlife first, because it's really, you don't have to, but that's why the December 1st date is in there, and that's what the recommendation is. Richard's absolutely correct.
Okay.
And Mr. Previous speaker was correct that the board member did recommend doing that. And then another member, Mr. Bursch, myself, Matt Morrow, had several conference calls, and the recommendation was to do this via Rich and Matt, and that's what we're doing. And we're also doing it with Shirley as well.
Okay. Well, let's do this again 2 weeks from today. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
We're gonna-
7.3 is, I'll be right back. 7.3 is Conservation Commission Talent Bank applicant.
Mr. Chairman, I believe 7.3 was forestry management planning.
I'm sorry, Jack, I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, sorry, Bob, I believe 7.3 was Gary Goldrup forestry.
Okay, there's been 2 revisions to this agenda.
Oh, okay.
The first revision supplanted Gary Goldrup with Conservation Commission Talent Bank applicants.
Okay.
Inadvertently, in the second revision, somehow or other, 440, whatever it is, the subdivision on Mulpus Road was omitted. And the town clerk gave Matt a ruling today that he could do a second revision to the agenda to put that back on, since it was in the first minutes, the first agenda that was posted. you know, and all the abutters have been notified and everything else like that. So
Right.
there's been 2 revisions to the agenda, one Monday, one today. And we're working from the second revision.
Okay, yeah, I just pulled this down 3-4 hours ago, so I don't know, but that's fine. I just wanted to help you.
Unfortunately, tonight is Todd Dwyer's last meeting on the commission. Todd Dwyer has served on the commission since 2014 and was the vice chair from 2017 until very recently. Whenever Todd chaired meetings as vice chair, he always had a way of making the public and applicants feel heard. As a licensed engineer with expertise in soil and construction, he always provided valuable expertise to the other commissioners when evaluating projects and reading plans. Todd was elected to the select board, where he volunteers on several other committees in addition to participating on all the select board meetings. Therefore, it's not surprising he has submitted his resignation from the Conservation Commission. This will be his last meeting. For me personally, one of the great joys of being on the Conservation Commission was that I got to meet Todd and become his friend. He will be sorely missed, but I'm sure his wife, Jack, will appreciate the time he would have otherwise have devoted to the commission. Todd, thank you for your expertise, your reasonable approach to applications, and your good humor. You will be missed.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it.
And so Todd notified us about a week and a half, no, almost 2 weeks ago, right after the last meeting, I think, of the vacancy. I immediately contacted the board, Elaine Peterson, asked the town manager and asked them to post the position, which they did. The posting needs to go for 10 days. The 10 days was up on Monday. We got one talent bank form in addition to our previous applicant, Jeff Viviano, a earnest young fellow who thought that what the Conservation Commission did was work on the conservation lands. And because that's what he wanted to spend 90% of his time doing. He didn't want to spend 90% of his time, you know, in the meetings enforcing the Inland Wetlands Act. So we're lucky to have Jeff Viviano is our applicant. Every time someone goes to the Board of Selectmen, you know, to be appointed, the first question that the chair always asks is, have you met with that board or commission? And so I put this agenda item on the agenda tonight to give Jeff a chance to ask any questions, to give it's not an interview. We do not have the authority to appoint. That's done by the Board of Selectmen, but it's just a Q&A session and a chance to say hello to Jeff again. So Jeff, you have a statement you'd like to make or anything?
No, just other than everything that you said about Todd is completely correct. He's a great guy. He was wonderful to have on the commission. He will be missed, but I think he's going to enjoy his new endeavor here in Lunenburg. So hats off to him, all the time he's donated. I think I've been to many meetings, as you know. I'm very familiar with the whole system and how it all works, and I think I'm very fair too. So that's pretty much about it. I think you guys all know me pretty well by now. So,
any comments or questions from commissioners? Wait, I got to admit more people. I got to get rid of this. All right. All right. Well, thank you for coming tonight. I don't see anybody. Oh, Jack Rabbit.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I totally agree with you that losing Todd is a kind of a blow to this committee. Basically, Todd has been able to come in and provide us with a range of technical expertise that we did not have, specifically with regard to bridges, overpasses, permeability of soils, what works and what doesn't work, what standards are with regard to things that we interface with on a regular basis. And I'm hoping that Jeff, you have some of those skills that you an engineer by training. I know. Are you a pilot? I believe, Jeff.
Yeah. I'm a
Yeah.
pilot, yeah.
Okay. Engineering background kind of thing.
Yes, some. Yep.
Okay. And anything with regard to soils and bridges, besides trying to avoid landing on them?
No, not necessarily that, but I was an HVAC mechanic / foreman in my previous job. And that consisted of going over many detailed plans, organizing that. So I think I do have the vision, and I think I can bring myself up to speed to this as well. Just looking at different elevations, just to be able to kind of interpret what's on paper to what's actually going to be built, I think is very important as well. So I can bring that to the table. I do have probably about 8 years of experience in that.
Okay.
So,
any kind of horticultural background at all? Avid gardener, I mean?
I've had gardens with over 36 tomato plants and many vegetables. So yes, I'm familiar with gardening. I enjoy working around the yard. I enjoy hunting and fishing. Actually went tuna fishing a couple weeks ago, and we got a nice big tuna, so that was fun. I mean, as far as engineering, there's I don't think you'd be struggling to replace somebody like Todd. I mean,
Yes.
he really was a great voice on the commission. So
Rich
big shoes
Birch.
to fill there. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jack. Rich Birch.
I do want to take a second to thank Todd for his years of service. He definitely was a great vice chair. I was able to have many conversations with him. He was a great sounding board and was always a very neutral voice and looked at things differently than I did, which made it very nice moving forward and trying to come up with decisions. I do have one question. You had said that this has to be posted for 10 days, and I was just wondering if this means that we're moving forward now with a recommendation. Has it been mentioned at, it obviously hasn't been mentioned at our televised meetings. Has it been mentioned at a selectmen's televised meeting?
It was in the,
The reason I tend to bring that up, I don't know if we necessarily have to move as expeditiously as it sounds like we are, especially given Todd's unique skill set that we will be losing as a civil engineer. I would like to make sure that townspeople do have an opportunity to hear that there is a vacancy and give them a chance to consider it and come forward. So,
and Rich, it was advertised in the Lunenburg Ledger. It's been posted on the website now for 12 days. I expect that the selectmen will appoint someone next Tuesday. So we are moving expeditiously, and or actually the selectmen are moving expeditiously. So Todd Dwyer has his hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to thank Mr. Viviano for his kind words, and Rich as well, and Jack. And it's been my pleasure to serve on the commission since 2014. And I'm going to miss being on this board, but I think I miss my free time a little more, to be honest. So I will say, I think we're very fortunate that Mr. Viviano's put in this application, and not only did he probably have, one of the top 3 most arduous applications to get his house built on Lake Shirley that I think we've been through. He's also been a pleasure to get to know as an associate member, and so I'll hold my opinion, but I hold Mr. Viviano in high regard, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other comments? Jack Rabbit.
Just a clarification. You said that it was open till Sunday, or this past Sunday, or?
No, I guess, based on what Elaine told me, that there's a legal requirement that it be posted for 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
that would
posted.
be Sunday. Okay.
So it was posted for 10 days. The posting, the 10 days was up on Monday.
Okay.
and it was advertised in the Lunenburg Ledger this past
Yeah,
Friday.
saw it. Yeah. Okay.
And, you know, if someone, if I can assure you that if a talent bank form comes in between now and next Tuesday, you know, Elaine will forward it to the Board of Selectmen for consideration. Because as I said before, this is not an interview. Our recommendation is not needed.
Right.
The Board of Selectmen get to choose and decide.
Yeah. So there's no input from us to the board?
I actually was asked to write a recommendation, just like I was asked to write a recommendation. I think that's because Jeff has been an associate member.
Right.
I
right,
think
right.
if Jeff had not been an associate member, they would not have asked me to write a recommendation.
Yeah. New to me, all this new to me. Okay, thank you.
All new to me too, Jack.
Mr. Chairman, I just checked the Board of Selectmen meeting docs for next week, and I did notice Mr. Viviano's talent bank form was in there, so I suspect he'll be on the agenda, and I suspect all the members of the commission would be welcome to that meeting to provide their opinion to the board.
Thank you,
Yes,
Tom.
I have been invited to the meeting, so.
We just heard that from a selectman.
I mean, I did interview with the selectmen before, and I think I was appointed as an associate member, and if my memory is correct, they said that I would take the next opening, so.
And I remember them saying that also, but two of those selectmen aren't there anymore, so I don't know how much water that holds.
Exactly.
In that case, I'd like, any other questions of Mr. Viviano or comments, or do you have any questions of us, Jeff?
No, not right now.
Thank you so much for attending.
Thank you.
Carl has his hand up again.
Me again. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, certainly I don't want to go through all the wonderful things about Todd, but it has been great working with him, and he always had a great way of finding solutions to problems that weren't very obvious, and he will be missed, but I have to say he's taking a even more important role to the town, so I want to thank him for taking the selectman role. I guess my only question for Jeff, is certainly he's capable, he's been to the meetings, we know him well, he's asked good questions. As associate member, there were only a couple meetings that you actually attended, and due to conflicts, and I know even during the hearings on your house, it was difficult for you to come to meetings. So has something changed that is going to make you more available for meetings regularly, as well as Saturdays for site visits?
No, since I did take this opportunity, I will be available for the meetings. Yes, that's definitely something that, and it's a substantial amount of time, and I do understand that as well. So I think that's, if somebody does apply for this position, they're going to realize pretty quick how much time it does take. Yeah. So, yeah.
And how important the site visits are as well.
Yes, yes. And there's a very interesting one on the ballot or on the agenda tonight. That's for sure.
Okay. I'd like to move on. Thank you, Jeff. I have received an email from John Fortune. I'm going to read it over the air. Hi, as mentioned during public comment, Hickory Hills Lake residents are no longer able to remove their boats due to the low water level. The boat ramp was deep enough during our drawdowns of 3 feet, but now that we're drawing down to 4 feet, the boat ramp is no longer viable. The boat ramp is at the Island Rome Beach area. The current ramp was dug out a few years ago during low water with an excavator, but is only about 15 feet out into the lake. Once the lake is drawn down, an excavator will be able to stay out of the water and reach out an additional 15 feet, giving access to boats near full drawdown. Thank you for your consideration, John Fortune. So now I think I'm looking for a motion.
I would move that we accept the proposal from Hickory Hills Lake Association with regard to removing additional soils in order for the boat ramp to become fully operational and to allow the maximum, I won't use the word safety, but the maximum preservation of equipment and materials associated with the residents.
Jack, this has to be couched in my opinion, this has to be couched in the form of an enforcement order.
Okay. Basically what I said, we
As an
would,
enforcement.
okay, now that's right, you're right. Okay, we would mandate that the Hickory Hills Lake Association utilize any method available to assure the removal of gravel and material within the, as described in that note specific to drawdown, and that we ask that this occur within what period of time? Immediately or within the next 30 days? What do you think, John? Next 30 days.
I think John is probably muted.
Yeah, sorry.
Mi-
Yes,
Mr.
within the
Chairman?
next 30 days would be
Within the
fine.
next 30 days.
Okay. So we have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, point of discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have any problem with the motion. I just think if we can amend it to specify that the excavator operator or whoever's operating the excavator use either mats or dunnage to protect the lake bed and bank to minimize the disturbance from the tracks.
I would accept that amendment.
Yeah, can you further explain what you mean, Todd?
So often for tracked vehicles, if they're going across a sensitive area, they'll put down mats or like dunnage, it's like timbers. It's below the track so it doesn't just destroy the lake bed and tear it up or the shore.
I would just observe that the lake bed in that area is gravel.
Yeah, it's all gravel.
I mean,
Are there critters living within that can get destroyed, mussels and things like that? I'm just,
Well,
if
they
there's a
won't
way
be
to
because it'll be
reduce
dry. I mean, he won't be going in the water, right? So the excavator will be on dry land.
Okay. I mean, if it's dry, firm ground, then I don't think it's necessary. But if you start to get into sandy areas, I think putting down can even be something as simple as like 4x8 sheets of plywood or something below the tracks.
Okay,
and
understood. Yeah.
Okay.
understood. And of course, this enforcement order will require, them to notify our agent, when the work is being done. Do we have a set? Carl Luck has his hand up.
Yeah, so I have a procedural problem with this, with calling it an enforcement. I don't know what we're enforcing. I know nobody did anything wrong that we're enforcing. I don't know why it isn't just an emergency approval and then it be followed up with appropriate documentation in the form of an RDA or something, so that it's documented where it's done. So enforcement is just correct to me.
I don't know enough about procedure to answer that, but I'm hoping Rich Birch is going to raise his hand.
There we go.
All right, Rich.
Here he goes. The problem we have is in an emergency order, there has to be either an environmental or a safety emergency that requires the work to be done. Technically, just pulling the boats out of that one location in the lake is not an environmental or safety emergency, at least the way we looked at it the last time we did this. It does look like there are locations on the lake if somebody had to pull a boat out, somebody's beach or roadway. There are private areas on the lake that they could pull boats out if they had to. So that was why we had proceeded with the enforcement order the first time.
Does that answer your question, Carl? I was doing it the way we did it before because I have great respect for the prior chair.
Yeah, it was just for the timing that was required, to go through and apply for the project itself would put it 2 to 4 weeks down the road. That's why we had done it under an enforcement order.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Just moving forward in the future, is this something that they could add just like a page section to the lake management plan that says in the event of low water that prevents boats from being removed from the boat ramp, this is a procedure we'd employ.
I think that's a great suggestion. And I'm sure Mr. Fortune will pass along to whoever writes the lake management plan.
Yep. Yep.
Whoop, one person is waiting. Message. Admit. Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion. Roll call vote. Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
Todd Dwyer.
Aye.
Carl Luck.
Aye.
Rich Birch.
Aye.
Bob Pease also votes aye. So there you have it. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, on to our next agenda item, which is 99 Ruth Street, I think. Let's see. No, it's 130. Pursuant to the Town of Lunenburg's Wetland Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Michael DeFazio for work at 130 Flynn Road. The work is for the construction of an attached garage within the buffer zone. Is there someone here from 130 Flynn? Please raise your hand.
Mike is here.
Aha, Mike DeFazio. Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes.
Mike, I'm going to try and call up your file.
Okay.
So let's see, share screen. So tell me which page you want to look at.
Let's see. Is this the entire PowerPoint here?
Yeah, so I keep going. I'll scroll through.
Yeah, so I'd previously submitted an RDA.
Yep.
And then it was suggested that I actually fill out a notice of intent. So that is what I had done. And I put this presentation together. I know you guys did a site visit probably a couple months back now. So essentially what I'm looking to do is move that existing garage, which is about 250 square feet inside the buffer zone. And I'm looking to take that down. You guys notice it was condemned, and bring it further away from the water and attach it to the house. And then so you can actually see, I think second to the last page, you guys had asked for a more detailed plot plan showing some of the erosions and the setbacks from the septic, some of the elevations, and then you can actually.
Is this the page, or tell me?
Yes. Yes.
This is the page. Okay. All right.
And I had actually had traced the engineered plan that I have for my property. That was on the last page on this presentation here. So you guys get an accurate representation of the elevations, the septic, and all the setbacks as well. Because that was one of the requests of the board members the last time I was on this call. So this is just a cleaner version of the engineered plan, I believe, by Marsden, that I had just cleaned up to show a more accurate representation and a cleaner version.
We have, well, let me call up my participant list so I can see.
Close the page before that.
Do we have any questions or comments from commissioners? Do we have any questions or comments from the, Todd Dwyer?
Couple things, Mr. Chair. One, on this plan, I don't think the previous garage is represented, but if I recall from the site visit, there's a fair amount of the existing garage that's going to be raised. That is within the between the 30 and the 50-foot buffer.
I think it might be on one of the other pages. Let's just, here we go.
Yep, right there.
So, and that's 18 by 32?
Yes.
And so that's
So it is
about 500 or almost 600 square feet, 576 square feet. And it looks like more than half of that is in the buffer zone.
correct.
So Do you know on your new plan for the small portion of pavement in the corner of your new garage, it looks like the new garage is going to stop at the 50 or maybe just inch into the 50? I guess what I'm wondering is what the area within that, between the 30 and the 50-foot buffer of pavement, what that area will be.
It's about 8x3, I believe. Are you talking about the pavement for the driveway, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And to be clear, it wouldn't be pavement. It would just probably be, gravel, graded base, something like that. So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. That's great. That's what I want.
that's kind of already there. There was already a driveway back there. So I'm definitely not paving it back there. So,
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any other questions from commissioners? Jack Rabbit.
Nice job, Mike. Good job. Hey, just a question on that garage you're removing. Is the floor concrete?
yes.
Will that be removed?
Yes, it'll be removed
Okay.
and replaced with gravel, loam, seed, whatever.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments from commissioners? Carl Luck.
Just to be clear, first, again, nice job, Mike. You responded to all our concerns and appreciate that. I just want to confirm, I think it's true, but the existing garage is on a different plan than the one with the wattle. The wattle is going to go around the existing garage.
Yes, yeah, it'll extend beyond the existing garage between that and the water.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Any questions or comments from members of the public? If there are no other questions or comments, I think I'm looking for a motion.
I move that we approve the notice of intent and issue a standard order of conditions for the plan as submitted.
Second.
Further discussion? Roll call vote. Carl Luck,
Aye.
Jack Rabbit,
Aye.
Todd Dwyer,
Aye.
Rich Birch,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
On to our second public hearing of the night. Pursuant to the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Thomas Crocker for work at 200 Island Road. The work is for the demolition and reconstruction of a single-family home within the buffer zone. So let's, first of all, let's stop screen sharing this. Second of all, let's find out who's here from Paul Kirschner.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Are you for 200 Island Road?
I am.
And could you please identify yourself and tell what your relationship is to the application?
Yep, my name is Paul Kirchner. I'm from Stamsky McNary. We're the engineers for the applicant Thomas Crocker for his property at 200 Island Road. I don't know if you want to show the plan. I can start.
Let me find it. 200 Island Road. Let me share the screen. Let's see. Is this what you want to see?
That's great.
All right, let me blow it up a little.
Okay.
Let's go to 75% to start. And let me scroll over here. What do you want me to show the public and the commissioners?
This view is great if you just slide it over a little bit, or actually maybe you're fine. It's just the zoom is blocking my view, but that's okay with me.
How's that?
Yeah, that's great. So as many of you may know, Island Road is on the north side of Hickory Hills Lake, which you were discussing earlier. The property is actually more than 100 feet from the edge of the water there, but on this property, there is a wetland located to the rear of the existing house, which you can just barely see the tip of it in the top right corner of this plan, but that really is the area that projects the buffer zone in which we are requesting to do the work. So the existing house at 200 Island is vacant. I believe it has been vacant since 1999. At least that's what Jim Gareffi, the health agent, told me. But if you've ever been out to this site, it's obvious that it's been empty for quite a while. It's totally overgrown. There are cars and boats and all sorts of fun stuff there. But the existing house, which is fallen apart, is located entirely within the buffer zone. As you can see, it's a little bit lighter on the plan, but anyway. So we did our survey, we located it, we got about 37 feet existing setback between the house and the wetland. And what the applicant wants to do is demolish that existing house and build a new one. So you can see it on the plan. We're proposing a 4-bedroom house with an attached garage and driveway. Overall, it brings the permanent and impervious area further away from the wetland post-construction. We are requesting a waiver to your 50-foot setback requirement, and that's just in order to build a driveway that's going to have enough space for a car to turn around. The proposed driveway is further away from the wetland than the existing house, and as you just asked the last applicant what the area difference was there. Currently, the house has about 210 square feet of its area within the 50-foot buffer. The driveway, as shown, is about 166, so it's like a 44 square foot decrease in impervious area within the buffer zone. We are staying outside of your 30-foot no touch. As you can see, the siltation barrier is all outside of it. I show a dotted line in the plan for the 30-foot. So at this point, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but it's raising of the existing house and construction of a new one. So that's the bottom line.
Thank you. Questions or comments from commissioners, please raise your hand. Carl Luck.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand where the driveway is.
It's right here.
I see.
Driveway comes up here, and it's right here. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not.
The person now. It comes in. Show me again, Bob, where it comes in.
So it comes off the road here.
I now have the lines.
And then then the garage is here at the end of the house.
Yeah.
So they're going in and out of the garage here. You know, and here is the extent of the driveway. And you can see here's the extent of the existing house.
Got it. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Jack Rabbit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The composition of the driveway, what is it going to be?
It's going to be paved. That's what we're proposing.
So if I'm looking at this properly, the driveway basically sits on the footprint of the old house?
Yeah, more or less. You know, naturally it's a little bit different, but.
Yeah, so we didn't really pick up, aside from, like you said, 40 feet of reduced impermeability, but then we're throwing a house in behind it, and you're increasing the overall impermeability within 100 feet.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a new house. It's going to be larger than the house that sits there, or typically that's going to be the case. And the existing house doesn't have a driveway, or at least not one that I could locate when I was out there myself doing the soil testing. Our surveyors didn't locate it. So, you know, the driveway as proposed is really just the topography of the site poses some challenges because it's pretty steep right along the front property line, and we're trying to climb that hill to get up there. So, you know, we had to put the house a little bit further back in order to climb that grade. So there is an impervious area increase within the buffer zone. As I mentioned, a decrease within the 50-foot. But other than that waiver we're requesting, we comply with all of your guys' regulations that I am aware of, at least.
So if I understand it correctly, the waiver you're asking is to put part of the driveway within the 50-foot no structure zone, but you are overall reducing the impervious surface in the 50-foot no structure zone by 40 square feet about.
That is correct.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Any questions or comments from the public? Oh, Rich, wait, I'm sorry. Rich Birch.
Yes, I know you mentioned the grading coming into it. Did you look at trying to make a forward access to the garage as opposed to the side access to the garage?
The applicant's preference is to do the side load.
I would just say that I routinely mountain bike up this access right here on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And right here from the street up to here, it's really steep, and that steepness goes all across the front.
Right.
So in my opinion, it'd be tough to take and do a front access, but I'd love to hear what Todd had to say about that after we hear from Jack Rabbit.
Well, just building on Rich's concerns is, okay, no matter what, you're going to, even when the level pad, you're still going to be coming down fairly steep. I don't understand why you need such a large pad.
It's to provide proper turnaround. So as proposed, the distance between the garage doors and the far edge of the driveway is 34 feet. And the reason that we've proposed it that way is just to avoid doing one of those T turnarounds off the backside, closer to the wetland. Tried to stay as far away from the wetland as was feasible with this layout. Typically, the minimum you want to do, minimum distance you want to have between garage doors and the furthest edge of your driveway is about 28 feet. Some engineers might have a different opinion there, but that's generally the philosophy I go by. We're going 34, but that's to avoid the T. If we were to do 28 feet, we'd probably need a T in order to just make the driveway navigable. And I should mention, actually, on top of that, this garage is a 3-car garage, and that's why it's so wide at the garage door face, or that's why it appears so wide, I should say.
Other comments or questions from commissioners? Todd Dwyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kirchner, my observation for being on the site is there was an existing path for vehicles onto the site. Did it actually go onto the abutter's property?
I did not see that when I was out there. So
it looked like the existing drive to that house entered the property from the right, which I guess is the east.
Okay.
And you can kind of tell from the grading where it was. So I guess when I look at the plan, my only question is, why wouldn't you could keep the same house configuration, but why wouldn't you just rotate the house to keep it out of the buffer, that and the driveway out of the buffer zone?
You mean in like
So
keep
if
the house?
if you look at the house and you turn it clockwise, say 30 degrees, that would keep the driveway. Was it just for aesthetics or?
Yeah, the house as proposed faces the road. If we rotate it clockwise 30 degrees, it's really going to be facing more the cul-de-sac at the end of the road. And so as you're driving up the road, approaching the house, the front door is facing away from you. So yes, it definitely is an aesthetic thing. But
I guess
also,
the other thought is, if you're not willing to do that with a house, you could always put in a mudroom or something between the garage and the house that could allow the garage to be rotated slightly and kind of reduce the amount in the buffer zone. But that was that's the only thing I could see that could change it, is if you rotated the house or slid it further. It would cause more grading outside of the 50, and it would put you a little closer to your proposed septic field. But it would keep you out of the 50-foot no structure. Just a thought.
I understand. Yeah, the reason that we have this on the house as proposed, or one of the reasons I should say, is obviously it's not just a box. Originally, we had submitted a plan that looked a little bit different than this, that the applicant had provided for me, like a little bit fancier of a house footprint, I guess, in order to give him some maneuverability within the box, and also provide the 3-car garage. We submitted this iteration. So while it's certainly possible that we could, in theory, produce a house plan that, has an angled garage, he's not 100% on what he's going to be building yet. He will obviously stay within the footprint that we've shown here, but the reason we've shown the footprint as it is just to allow him some space to make some adjustments and notches as he sees fit.
Okay. I don't have any further questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Any questions or comments from the public? My comment is, I do think, I guess I personally support it as proposed, but Mr. Kirsten, you need to get 4 votes tonight. So, and there's only 5 members present. So I'm going to do a straw poll. Carl Luck, how do you feel about this application?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, based on listening to discussion and looking at the plan and understanding what the homeowner is, I would rather see a plan that at least that improved, reduced the amount in the 50-foot, and I think that is possible. I would not tend to support it the way it is.
Jack Rabbit.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I would prefer to see the drawings evolved a bit to minimize the intrusion within the 50 feet. So at this point, I would not support it.
Well, right there, Mr. Kirshner, I'll ask Mr. Birch also. Mr. Birch. Rich.
Yeah, sorry about that. My internet got unplugged. Unfortunately, at this point, I would not be in favor of it as designed. The engineer has stated that this is not necessarily the finished plan, so I think that perhaps we should go back and see if we can address some of the commissioner's concerns about the blacktop within the 50-foot no structure zone, where we're not even sure if he's going to use the whole development envelope that he's asked permission for.
So, Mr. Kirshner, I recommend that we continue this public hearing. You revise your plan, and we come back on the 21st because Mr. Dwyer won't be on the commission at that point. Well, hopefully have a new member by then. And we take it up again.
Okay, I understand.
Go ahead. Do you have any questions or comments before we?
So I understand the commission's concerns. We felt this plan would be acceptable just because we are decreasing the impervious area within the 50-foot, and we are staying, within the general vicinity of the existing house. The house has been there a long time. It's been vacant. The applicant really is just, obviously he's in here to build a new house and sell it. But on top of that, it's going to help clean up the site quite a bit, which I'm sure the next door neighbor will appreciate. But I do hear the commission's concerns. So if it sounds like the only real holdup is the encroachment into the 50-foot buffer. So really all that I'm asking is if that's going to be it. I understand that anything can happen, and we could submit a new plan and there's another concern, but just if we're going to continue anyway, and I'm going to have to revise this plan somewhat, is there anything else we see here that might be cause for a potential holdup next time?
If anyone has any comments, please raise their hand. Anything additional? Todd Dwyer.
I guess the only thing additional I see, Mr. Chair, is did they consider, rather than fighting the grade to get it up to where it is entering the garage, did they consider doing, essentially keeping the grade near, that 107 near the street? Looks like it goes down even further in front and putting the garage under.
We can look into that.
That may solve the aesthetic problem, because then from the street you mostly just see the house and just another suggestion. Ultimately,
that's a great suggestion.
Ultimately, the homeowner's just they'll decide what they want. But
given the rocks and hard places the applicant finds them in here tonight, Rich Birch.
If we could have a limit of work on the plan. I do see we have some erosion protection in the back, but it was a fairly well wooded site. I do know that there are some challenges in trying to get rid of and demolishing the house and the shed, as well as some of the other treasures that were there that had trees growing through them. So I do know there's going to be a little bit of work involved here. So it would be nice just to see how far out the development envelope was going to go into the forested area.
So show the limit of work. In other words, where you're going to not take trees down anymore and clear. And alter the plan to somehow reduce the amount of driveway within the 50-foot no structure. Anything else?
I actually do have a follow-up question to that. Sure. So maybe it's not totally clear on this plan, but the intent here is to clear the area that's within the buffer zone that is enclosed by the siltation barrier. Naturally the applicant wants to provide a backyard, but as you look sort of towards the left side of the plan, when you're still within the buffer zone, a lot of that work is really to chop out that knoll that you can see really in the center of the page. And in order to do that, he's going to have to take out the trees. So I can make that more clear on a revised plan that we're looking to remove essentially all the trees within the siltation barrier and buffer zone line.
Well, then I guess I would suggest that you take and you show before and after contours if you're going to chop out the knoll.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to see. We actually do have some contours on the upper half of the plan. You can see the 117, 116.
Oh, yeah, I do see those.
Yeah. So I actually have had the same conversation with the applicant. It's a little bit tough to read because there's just an absence of contours there, but I don't really know how to show it any better, to be honest.
So in other words, you're saying that where the knoll is now, the 115, the 116, those are the contours, and between those 115 and the 116, that's all less than 1 foot difference.
Right, because right now that knoll, the top is like 119, so he's going to be cutting it down a few feet.
Okay.
I could throw a spot grade on there. That would probably make it a lot easier.
You could just take and show something, like you know, a vegetation symbol or something that shows, you know, where the tree line's gonna be.
Okay.
Anything else from the commission? I'm looking for a motion to continue.
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion, roll call vote. Carl Luck,
Aye.
Jack Rabbit,
Aye.
Todd Dwyer,
Aye.
Bob Pease, aye, and Rich Birch.
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, a roll to continue to when?
I'm continued to the date certain of the 21st,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
October 21st. Thank you, Jack Rabbit, for catching that.
Uh,
Always
Bob,
continue to a date certain.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
On to our third public hearing. Pursuant to the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing. Stop share. A public hearing on a request for determination by Fred Arnstein for work at 181 Peninsula Drive. The work is for construction of a shed within the buffer zone. I see Mr. Arnstein. Mr. Arnstein, can you please unmute yourself? Okay, Mr. Arnstein, I'm going to try and call up your application.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
You're unmuted.
Oh, good. But I don't see my picture. Is that available to others? Not that you'd want to see me,
It would
but
be available to you if you turn on your camera. There's something called Start Video.
yeah,
See you now.
now I'm there. Okay,
How about
Thank
that,
you.
huh?
thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I
So-
thought I had rotated all these already. All right, so let's reduce these down to 100%. So tell us about your application, Mr. Arnstein, and just direct me through your application, what you'd like to show the commission.
Um,
Well, let me share it first. That would be helpful. Let's see. Share screen. Here we go. Can you see it now?
yes, I see it.
All right, good.
Maybe we could start. And I'm not sure that the application I have is the final one, but I think at the very beginning, there are a couple of pictures of the old shed that was there. Yeah.
Fortunate. Let's see.
So,
Is this a picture of the old shed? No.
yeah, it's it's on its side, huh?
Let me rotate it. If I can.
There are two pictures of the old shed.
Okay.
And one of them shows the shed full on, and it shows it as it was when it was. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so now I'm going to rotate this one. Is this the picture?
Yes, and unfortunately, the way it came out here, you can barely see it on the left side of the screen.
How about right over here?
That's right. So that there was a shed on the property when we bought the property 2 years ago. At least we've called it a shed, and everybody that we talked with informally around the time, people just call it a shed. It was a tent shed with a metal frame and this tarpy kind of thing over it. And the other picture shows it from the top, more or less. And
This
you can
picture
see
or a different picture.
this is a different picture. And you can see the reason I put that there is because you can see the damage that the weather did to it. And on the top, particularly. So it really was not functional after a while. When we bought it 2 years ago, it looked more or less okay, but over the 2 years, it just deteriorated. So that's kind of the history of it. Now, what we thought was that we'll just replace it. It was there, so we'll replace it, and while we're replacing it, we'll make it out of wood, which would make more sense than that tarp material. Okay, good, thank you, because that's the picture I wanted to show next. But let me just say that we should have contacted you in the first place before we ever started doing anything with this. And I understand that, at least we understand that now. And we understood it before, in a sense. We knew that we were within the zone and that we needed some kind of approval. We wrote to the administrator, Misty McGee of the Lake Association, and she wrote back a letter that it sounded like no problem, go ahead. We misinterpreted, and so I don't want to make out that anybody else is responsible for not having contacted you earlier. But I just wanted to say that we had no intention of sneaking it by you,
Mr.
which is
Armstrong,
probably how.
let me ask you a question. What was underneath the previous tent?
Plywood.
Shelter?
It was plywood. It was not attached to the ground, but it was a plywood floor, which it's still there. That's what we plan to use as the floor of the current structure.
Okay.
So it was, what we want to replace is the structure on the plywood, not the plywood.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so this is a picture of where the shed is on the property. I tried to measure how far it was from the water. It's obviously less than 30 feet, but I couldn't, there's vegetation at the lake shore there, and I couldn't tell where the high water mark was really, so my guess was about 19 feet, but you probably have been there and maybe you measured it, so you would have a better idea. But the basic thing is it was a shed, a structure. It had a plywood floor. We are trying to, we would like to build a new similar structure except out of wood on the same location using the same floor.
And I think we have a picture of that somewhere down here or somewhere previous. Ta-da.
There. Oh.
Yep.
And so it's partly constructed, and once we realized that we really did need your approval, we stopped the construction.
Okay. Questions or comments from commissioners? Jack Rabbit.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. While our agent isn't here with us right now, on Saturday, we did do a site visit and we did take measurements. The first question came up, did we have a record of this structure being there? Whereas was it a tent? There was nothing recorded. There was nothing. So essentially it's not really legal to start with. The second part was it was a tent. The other portion of it, we did take measurements and we did go from the high water mark. And I can understand how, essentially it might have been perceived as 19 feet because the water had been drawn down. In fact, it was probably closer, we measured closer to 10 feet. Anyway, in either case, it was well within the 30 feet. And it's unfortunate that, it's a structure, but, it's clearly well within the 30 and would, my perception would be that it does require that it be moved back. And it appears to be of a size so that it is movable and you can shift it back, depending on what this council, usually we try to keep everything at 50 feet. So that is my thoughts, but there is no record of it. And I did Google it and in the past, and sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. I mean, Google Earth it over time. So it appears that the previous residents were probably taking it up, putting it down, using it annually as needed to store their stuff, their boating stuff.
Thank you, Jack. Carl?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was also on the site walk on Saturday. It is very unfortunate that we don't have better documentation or photographs of the structure, I'll call it a structure that was there before. It's clear from the photographs it was a rotary structure, a canvas, structure that probably wouldn't have needed permitting. The comment was made that it, again, from that, I don't have enough detail to see whether it was on the same floor or not. The floor in this picture sure looks like a new floor. And I would expect that you'd want to put a new floor underneath a new shed. So it certainly looked like a structure within the 50 foot, certainly within 30 even, but within our 50 foot no structure. So it doesn't look like it complies with our regulations, and I don't have enough information to validate that there was a legitimate structure there before.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Rich Birch.
I think the other question we had when we were on site also was its proximity to the property line, where it's clearly a built structure. If there was an offset to the property line, which our agent was supposed to determine and get back to us on this evening. So it is unfortunate he's not there on that respect as well. And I do mirror both the concerns of Commissioner Rabbit and Commissioner Luck as far as the tentative nature, no pun intended, of the tent in the picture, which depending on how long it had been there and what it was made out of, there's just no documentation as to that. And this is clearly within the 30-foot no disturbance and the 50-foot no structure. So it is unfortunate that the homeowner did not go through the proper channels prior to starting construction of it to see the legalities of putting a shed in that location.
Yeah, speaking for myself, I went back through, I used the assessor's website and went back through the aerial photographs, and you can, and sometimes they're real clear and sometimes they're real fuzzy. And you can clearly see that there was something there, and like the tent that they, that is shown, the deteriorated tent that's shown in the picture, in a couple of those pictures. But it is there and then it isn't there, kind of thing. So I agree with whoever said that it looked like someone was putting it up and taking it down. So Fred, you would need 4 votes to get for us to find you a negative determination, which would say that it's okay to put the shed up here. I think it's very clear you don't have 4 votes. So I guess I'm looking for a motion for a positive determination.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a second? Is there further discussion?
I have a question.
Sure.
I understand all that you're saying. In terms of building, if you say no, which sounds like you, or yes, whichever that is, and say that the shed can't be built there, then in principle, we could build it elsewhere on the property. I don't know that there's actually any other place to put it, given the contours of the property and where the septic system is located, and there are issues. It's not a big property. It's a very small property. So
yeah, I think it's like 0.16 acres or something like that.
Yes. Yes. So if we did try to put it in a different place, then am I right in assuming that we would then apply to you again, even if it was outside?
Correct. I would highly recommend, that you work with our agent, who unfortunately isn't here tonight because he has a power outage. To see if there is a location, that would, and also work, with the health department, and the building official to see if there is an area on your little lot, where you could, locate such a shed.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion and seconded. Roll call vote. Carl Luck,
Aye.
Jack Rabbit,
Aye.
Todd Dwyer,
Aye.
Rich Birch,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you, Mr. Arnstein.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have a continued public hearing. First, let me stop sharing my screen. And then one moment while I do some house cleaning here. I had like 20 windows open, and I can't have that many windows open. All right. So our fourth public hearing, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection Bylaw. Public hearing on a determination of applicability by Keolis will be held. Work proposed is vegetation management on various rights-of-way within the Town of Lunenburg railways. And I believe we have someone here from representing Keolis. Could you please raise your hand? I saw them check in anyway. Does anybody see anybody from Keolis that I'm missing? I definitely saw someone check in. Well, then let's, what do you want to do? You want to continue this? I'm looking for some direction. We can continue this public hearing till later in the meeting in case they come back. Or we can continue it to the 21st.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, wait, Rich Birch. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, at the last hearing, Mr. Chair, the only concern was that the abutters be notified. I'm not sure who else from the commission received the notification from the environmental compliance officer for MBTA. And they did state the MGL that anybody working under or contracted by the MBTA is exempt from certain aspects of local and municipal bylaws, which does exempt them from our regulations stating that they have to notify abutters for an RDA.
So what is your suggestion, Rich?
My suggestion would be at this point, Matt had advised us at the last meeting that their application was in line with how the commission has usually handled their vegetation controls and maintenance along the line. And his recommendation at that time was for a negative determination. So I personally would recommend we move forward with a negative determination for the plan presented for the MBTA maintenance.
Is there any other, Carl Luck?
Yeah, I'm Rich, maybe you can educate me here. When we went into the last meeting, we some guidance from two conservation groups. I think MAC was one, and I forget the other one. That this should have a positive determination. That it wouldn't really inhibit the contractors, but that technically there was an issue, and it should be a determination. I can't find that communication right this second, but recall that, and did that go away?
Yeah, Matt had mentioned that as far as some, there were a few recommendations for positive determinations. Historically, we have treated it as a negative determination for the small amount of maintenance in town that they are doing and the few wetlands that they are in proximity to. So I would still stand behind, at least my personal feelings would be for a negative determination.
As I recall, with the MAC recommendation was they were making a case that this exemption that they were using allowed them to take and do vegetation control using chemicals, but it didn't allow mechanical vegetation removal. And so we should distinguish in our approval that it was only for chemical vegetation control, which makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Carl has his hand up again. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think we should continue this to get to hear from Matt, because I thought Matt, understood what these other agencies were recommending and their recommendation. So I would like to suggest that we continue this until our agent or the applicant is available.
Todd, how do you feel?
I think continuing would be a prudent course. I'm not overly concerned either way, but I have no issue with continuing.
Jack?
I would move that we continue this to the October the 24th.
Well, I guess that's it then. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I just got a text from Matt, and he concurs with what Rich had indicated, that a negative determination. That's his feeling. That's a normal course for this plan, for everyone's information.
Mr. Chairman, I would defer to our agent's recommendation.
So,
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would withdraw my motion.
how about making a new motion, Jack?
I would accept the negative determination. What was it? No, positive determination. No, negative determination. Negative.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I'm assuming there's no further discussion. Roll call vote. Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
Todd Dwyer.
Aye.
Carl Luck.
Aye.
Rich Birch.
Aye.
And I from myself.
And Mr. Chair, I did just have one quick clarification, with all due respect to Mr. Luck's comment. MACC is not an agency. It is an association and more of an advocacy group than something that is an agency within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Mr. Bursch.
Oh,
You're welcome, Mr. Luck.
well, and that's a reminder that I have to pronounce Rich's last name correctly.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure I'm doing it wrong, because old habits die hard. On to public hearing number 5. Continued pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended. In the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Jeff LaPierre for work at 1672 Mass Avenue will be held. Work proposed is rebuild of an existing shed, grading of existing lawn, repair of a retaining wall, removal of a tree, and the repaving of a driveway with gravel. Is Mr. LaPierre here or someone representing them? Please raise your hand. Or hit *9.
He's here.
Yeah, it looks like he's unmuted as well.
Mr. LaPierre, please say something.
Hello?
Hi, that's a good start.
Hi. Yeah, so in the last meeting, I think Carl had some concerns over the proximity of the shed with respect to the property line. So I'm planning on having the property surveyed to create a more accurate drawing. But some members were able to come for a walk through on Saturday. So I was just wondering, if there were any concerns that anybody had over the work that's proposed, just so I could get a feel for whether or not what I want to do is feasible.
So do we have any feedback for the applicant, for the people who went, from the people who went on the sidewalk, most of whom are here tonight? Carl?
There was, I'm not looking at a plan yet right now, so I can't.
Want me to pull it up?
Please, yeah.
Yeah, my version about where there's a sort of a rotary in front of the house there, and there's 3 or more pretty significant trees, and the applicant mentioned that he was looking to take them all down. And there was some discussion over, leaving at least one, that some of them made sense, but not all of them. And I didn't know, so that was an area of concern, just to answer the applicant's question if there's other areas of concern. So that was one, but I don't know what's on the plan anymore, or the plan we're gonna get.
Okay, so let's go back to here. Let's go over here. Let's share a screen. Here we go. Share. So is this the plan you want, Mr. LaPierre?
Yeah. So, yeah, the trees that I want to take down aren't really shown on this drawing. There's a circular driveway to the right of the retaining wall. So if you scroll down a little bit.
Tell me when to stop.
I mean, that's good there. Basically, the road, there's a circular driveway that is right up against the retaining wall. And there's an island in the middle that's, probably like 30 feet in diameter. So it'll be more clear, I think, when we have a more accurate drawing, because this drawing I don't think is accurate, but.
Good, okay, I just want to make sure it gets addressed. So
Yep.
Next time we'll have everything. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could you just page up a little bit to show where the existing, the shed had been moved off its foundation, and I wasn't sure where it was relocated to, because again, that's within the corner of it's within that 30 foot. Is that, where would the new shed be sitting, I guess?
So where the shed is drawn on this drawing is where I'm proposing to put the new one. This is where it was.
Right.
And, I moved it so that way I could, the plan was to put it on a concrete pad. So I moved it out of the way. The plan was to remove what was under the shed. There were a bunch of rotting stumps and stuff that was decomposing. So the plan was to pour a concrete foundation and then move the shed back to where it was. So.
And so do you have comments on the location of the shed, Jack, that you can give the applicant?
Well, I would wonder if you would consider just moving it outside of the 30 foot.
Yeah, I think it may be possible.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to get it surveyed, because there's some questions as to where the wetland begins and also, the property line. I want to confirm that. So
that'd be great. Thank you.
Todd Dwyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When we went out to the site, the shed had been moved off the pad, and it looked like there was some, was the gravel that was there, is that what was under the existing shed, or?
No. So it was just loam, and there were stumps that were buried in the loam.
Yeah.
So I pulled all that stuff out and replaced it with gravel, and I compacted it, in lifts.
Yep.
So
next to that gravel pad there, it looked like there was almost like a trench. Was that just because you hadn't had enough gravel to fill in that area?
Yeah. Yep.
And is that trench, if it gets approved, would you just fill that with loam or something, or?
Well,
was the pad
or? Probably fill it with gravel. I mean, it's
okay.
Yeah.
Rich Birch.
So I would definitely agree with Jack's question and proposal to try to get the shed as far out of the no disturbance, and actually the 50-foot no structure zone. Matt did not have any filings for that shed, so it was not placed with approval from the Conservation Commission. The other thing I would definitely ask the applicant to do is to ensure that the conditions on his represented plan with the survey are accurate. Right now, the dwelling is double the size of what is sitting there. The driveway is nowhere near accurate to what is in place there now. There was disturbance done right up to the edge of wet behind where the shed was. So we really need to make sure that we have all information, that relevant information on the plan that he does present before we move forward again.
So, any other questions, Mr. LaPierre?
Okay, so I heard a couple different things. So I think that it's possible to get the shed out of the 30-foot buffer zone, but I don't know if it's going to be feasible to move it more than that.
Mr. LaPierre, let me ask you, how long has the shed been there?
It was there before I bought the house, and the plywood was dated 1998, so it's been there probably 22 years.
22 years. Thank you. Todd Dwyer.
Actually, Mr. LaPierre just answered my question. I was wondering how long the shed had been there, and if he had, how long have you owned the property, Mr. LaPierre?
10 years.
Do you have pictures of the property from when you first bought it?
Yep.
I think those would be helpful in the application as well.
Yeah, Matt has pictures of the shed before it was moved, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to continue.
Make a motion, we continue to October 21st.
Thank you so
permission
much.
from the applicant.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, quick question. Mr. LaPierre, will you be
Can you wait till we get the discussion, Jack?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I would second that.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, Mr. Rabbit.
Would our applicant, Mr. LaPierre, be ready by that time if he's going out and getting it surveyed?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I have somebody coming this Friday to look at what I want to have done, and I'm not sure how soon they'll be able to do it. So,
well, we can always continue if.
Okay, if it's not ready by then, I should just. I can let you guys know or not show up, and and we'll do it the next one.
Well, I've learned since then that in the agent or the chair cannot tell an applicant that they don't need to show.
Okay.
But if the commission right now tonight says, oh, if you're not ready by next week, just send a letter and you don't need to be there, then you would be fine.
Okay.
So how does the commission feel about that? Carl?
As a chair, I mean, if he's going to have somebody just come to see what he wants to do and not actually start the survey, I don't think there's any way he's going to be ready in a couple of weeks. So I think it would be more prudent to move it out to the following meeting. He may not make that either, but, you know, it takes us time just to read the statement, go through, and, you know, it adds to the agenda. So I would like to see it moved out to at least the meeting after next.
You're probably accurate about your timeline. Let's look at our calendar.
I mean, I can send somebody an email and let them know how soon they think they can get the drawing done. So then you'll know whether or not to put it on the agenda.
Well, but if we continue the hearing till the 21st, we have to open it, vote to open it, vote to continue it. You know, as Mr. Lux, point is, you know, is what he's trying to point out. And that all takes time. And I think it is extremely unlikely, given the demand on surveyors right now, that you'll have a completed survey plan before the 21st.
Okay.
So would you be willing to amend your motion to continue it until November 3rd? I'm sorry, till November 4th.
Sure.
No, I'm asking the person who made the motion.
I would change my motion to continuing the hearing to November 4th.
And how about the person who seconded it?
Seconded, I would accept that amendment.
All right, and so roll call. I'm hoping there's no further discussion. Roll call vote. Rich Birch.
Aye.
Carl Luck.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
Todd Dwyer.
Aye.
And an aye for myself. Any other questions, Mr. LaPierre, before we move on?
No questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I just make a general public announcement for the good of the order that after we finish this next public hearing, we're going to take like a 60-second or 120-second break.
Okay.
Continue pursuant to the town of Lunenburg, Massachusetts protection. Start again. Continued. Pursuant to the town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Bright Farms will be held for work at 361 Mass Ave. Work proposed is the construction of a commercial greenhouse, lettuce, resulting in alteration of isolated wetlands subject to the Lunenburg Wetlands bylaw. So first, let's stop sharing this screen. Then let's look for our applicant. Oh, there he is, Sean O'Neill.
Hi, everybody.
And let me call up the document that Sean sent Mass earlier. Bright Farms. Bear with me a minute. There we go. That shows us everything we need to do. So now let's share that screen. Share screen. Here we go. So, Sean, tell us what we're looking at.
So we had one main follow-up from the last meeting. I think everyone was okay with how we plan to move what was essentially what I would call a low-quality wetlands and try to move it down and improve it. We really only had one thing that was requested at the last meeting, which was, can you make it 1-to-1 mitigation? So Marianne DePinto, I think, is also on the line here.
Yes.
Went back and sort of mapped where did a one last kind of review of where the wetland lines were, and I think removed some of the ATV tracks out of the calculation. And now what we're presenting to you is 2-to-1 mitigation. So we've expanded the wetlands that are, again, it looks like it's east on your map on the screen, but it's actually south of the greenhouse. And so we've expanded that and achieved 2-to-1. And Marianne, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, when we were out of the site as well, we noted that there were some upland knolls that I just included within that isolated wetland by extracting about 20% between the ATV tracks and the upland knolls. It was about 20% of that wetland area was really upland, which results in 9,040 square feet of isolated wetland. We'll be mitigating that adjacent to another isolated wetland at the bottom of the hill, totaling 18,080 square feet. So that was really the only outstanding question from our last meeting.
Questions or comments from commissioners? Please raise your hand after I open up my participants list. Jack Rabbit.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Have the abutters like Hannaford been notified that you'd be increasing that wetland area?
No, they've been notified that they, as abutters, that
Yeah.
they're notified to come to the hearings. They would know that the meeting was continued if they attended. So apparently they didn't seem concerned.
Right.
The owner, I should add just to that question. So the owner of Hannaford property is actually a company called Brixmore. Hannaford and Walmart are renters. And I'm in touch with them about the easement and that we have to access the property. So they will definitely be aware of that. And we're going to have sort of all kinds of discussions about how we're going to coordinate construction with them, et cetera.
Okay, so there would be no effect on the parking areas or anything like that. Is that what you're assuming?
No, we wouldn't allow it. I mean, we'll get sued.
Oh,
we won't let that happen.
Rich Birch. Rich.
Sorry about that.
Right.
Is there a construction schedule for replacement of the wetland?
There is not. We don't have that yet. We're just laying out, and one of the big reasons is we don't know if we're going to be able to move dirt before it gets hard, the ground gets hard. And so we haven't laid out a formal construction schedule yet. I expect that in the next month or so.
There was a mitigation sequence that was submitted, in terms of how the mitigation would take place. But as far as when that starts, it's all, dependent upon other approvals and so on.
Rich, do you have more?
No, I was just trying to, where that's pretty much the only thing within our jurisdiction. I just want to make sure we have it properly documented as far as a construction schedule and how they're going to proceed, what they're putting back in the wetlands, the planting schedules, things like that.
I can give you a pretty good guess. We have a very ambitious construction schedule, and we aim to be fully built in and operational by Q4 next year. So the dirt work would happen very quickly. I would guess that in the spring sometime, probably even before summer, we have done all the dirt work and relocated the wetlands.
And it's my understanding you're going to move all the plants from the existing wetlands to the new wetlands.
Correct.
Yes.
So therefore, it's got to be, simultaneous.
Yes. Yep. That's got to be dug out
Yeah.
first, and it'll be moved immediately to the new location.
Are there any other comments or questions from commissioners?
Mr. Chair, I did find the description of the wetland replacement that Mary Ann was mentioning. The only concern I had, it did list that if any of the plants, if it looked like the plants that they were transplanting were not going to take, they were just going to replace them with a wetland seed. Is that correct, Mary Ann?
Well, it's wetland seed, but there's also going to be shrubs planted.
Okay, yeah, I guess I would just, my recommendation, and if we do approve this moving forward, that we just have the population of plants remains constant. If they don't survive, they should be replaced in like kind, as well as the seed that was described.
I think that would be a great condition to an approval.
Agreed.
There are any other comments or questions from commissioners? Is someone willing to make a motion?
I would make a motion to approve as submitted with the added condition that the replication area, any plants that do not survive the first growing season be replaced in like kind.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Roll call vote. Rich Birch,
Aye.
Todd Dwyer,
Aye.
Jack Rabbit,
Aye.
Carl Luck,
Aye.
and an aye for myself. I think you've gotten your first approval from the town of Lunenburg.
All right.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a procedural question. An order of conditions will come out. When does that happen?
That's right now, we have to personally sign orders of conditions. We're not using DocuSign.
Oh, okay.
Or electronic signatures. So first of all, Matt has to prepare them, and then we have to come by, in the office and sign them,
Okay.
with all the COVID stuff going on.
Mm.
So I don't expect it'll be tomorrow.
No, I just wondered. So like maybe sometime this month or early next, something like that.
Oh, I would hope it would be we'd be able to sign it probably at our next site walk before our next meeting.
Great. All right. Thank you all. That was my only other question. Appreciate everybody.
If you needed it sooner than that, reach out to Matt, and then sometimes we make arrangements for people to go into the office, make special trips.
No, I think that'll be fine. I'm
Okay.
grateful for your support and your guidance on this project.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank
All
you.
right, I propose we're going to take about a 60-second break, and then we're going to open up hearings 7 and 8. There's a long line at the bathroom.
Todd's got the same problem, I guess. Okay.
Todd, if you let us know. Oh, he's there. All right.
Aye.
Looks like Todd got something to eat. Good for you.
I'm Rangoon.
I'm going to read the next two public hearings. We have two continued public hearings. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a request for determination of applicability by Gary Williams for 99 Ruth Street will be held. We're proposed, and there's also a continued public hearing. There's really two different RDAs. There's one for the restoration of vegetation removal, and there's also a different one for the placement of stairs and a dock. Is there anyone here for Gary Williams? I expect there probably is not. If there is, please raise your hand. I received a text message from Matt Morrow that, let me find it. Whoops, text message. That Hannigan is finishing the survey and looking to be on the November 4th agenda for an NOI. We could either find a positive determination, or we could take and continue this to November 4th at the pleasure of the board. Carl Luck.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest, since we know the NOI is coming and it's about to come, that we close out these RDAs so we start with a nice clean slate at our next meeting. So I would like to recommend that we rule on these two RDAs tonight.
Is there any other discussion before people start making motions? Anybody feel differently about it than what Carl's suggestion? I'm looking for a motion. Let's take the RDA for vegetation restoration first. Carl.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we find a positive determination on the RDA.
Second.
Do you have a second? So I thought I heard somebody second it.
Yeah, Todd did.
Todd, oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Carl Ruck.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
Todd Dwyer.
Aye.
Rich Birch.
Aye.
And an aye for myself. Now I'm looking for a motion on the RDA for the placement of the dock and the stairs. Carl Luck.
Mr. Chairman, I propose we find a positive determination on the RDA for the dock and the stairs.
We have a second.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Carl Luck.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
Todd Dwyer.
Aye.
Rich Birch.
Aye.
And an aye for myself. On to public hearing number 9. Pursuant Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetland Protection Municipal Bylaws. A public hearing on a request of determination by Andrew LeBlanc for work at 362 Townsend Harbor Road will be held. Work proposed is the placement of a dock. Is there anyone here? There typically is not anyone here for this application. Is there anyone here for this application? Please raise your hand or hit *9. Okay. So we did get some information in on the dock. And let me call that up on the screen. Oh, okay, get that out of there. Let's get rid of this. Let's do this. Oh, I just got, hello, Matthew. Well, we just did a positive determination on 99 Ruth Street, both of the RDAs, and we're moving on to, and I butt dialed you when I was trying to look at your text. That's quite all right. I was trying to find your text to see what you said about the, you know, that they were going to be coming in on the November 4th, and I accidentally dialed you, but then I hung up immediately. All right, you still in the dark? All right. There's a joke there, but we'll leave it alone. All right, bye. Sorry for that. Okay, this is 362 Townsend Harbor Road. Well, earlier I had trouble opening the stock, but I was able to get it open eventually. Let's close this one. All right, let's share the screen. So, as I recall, the last time we actually opened this hearing, we were missing a description of what the dock looked like. We had a map of where it was going to be. Was there anything else that we were missing? Are there any comments or questions from commissioners? Any comments or questions from the public? Then I would be looking for a motion for a negative determination. This is an RDA for the placement of this aluminum dock on Hickory Hills Lake.
I would move that we accept a negative determination specific to the dock on 362 Townsend Harbor Road.
Are there any, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Carl Luck.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
Todd Dwyer.
Aye.
Rich Birch. I vote aye. That's 4. Rich will probably unmute himself in a second.
Aye.
Thank you. So that's 5-0. We're done with this one finally. On to public hearing number 10, continued pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended. In the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Joanne McGurn for work at 238 Fire Road 16 will be held. Work proposed is the construction of a single-family home, driveway, well, and sewage disposal system with portions of the construction with a 100-foot buffer zone. And I think I see we have Joanna and Butch McGurn. And do we have anybody else here?
We should have Brian Butler and Neil Gorman might be on the waiting room.
Oh, you're right. You're so right. Admit. Before the next meeting, I have to take a lesson on how to turn off this waiting room nonsense. And I apologize to Neil Gorman. Neil, are you there? Well, he's wait. I don't see anything yet that.
Neil is at the office without power. He's actually going to be speaking by phone tonight.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? This is Neil Gorman.
I can hear you now, Neil.
Hi, Neil. Excellent.
And there's Brian Butler.
Can you hear me, just for the record?
Yeah, who's that?
Brian Butler?
Yeah, I can hear you, Brian.
Great.
So we have Brian Butler, Neil Gorman, and Joanna and Butch McGurn.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. And so is there something you would like me to call up on the screen?
Yeah, I had submitted some revised plans, PDF copies to Matt. I'm not sure if he has them in the folder for you there.
And so we're going to go looking right now.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Just a point of order. The only things I've seen were just submitted today, which doesn't meet our requirement.
They were put in the folder today. I'm not sure they were submitted today.
The letter was dated today. The cover letter was dated today. But we just received them. I've had it's not time to review it, and it doesn't meet our requirements for data.
I understand that, but I'd like to take a look at them and see if we can give the applicant any feedback. See what
The materials were generated pursuant to our site visit and commentary, but it is new information, but it's commensurate with our discussions in the field on the September 1 site visit. If you can't pull them up, you could share your screen with me and I have them here.
I'm working on it, sir.
Okay. No hurry. I'm just.
Yeah, I understand. I'm sure it's this big one. All right, so let me share the screen. Is this what you want? Or does it look like maybe what you want?
Yes, that's the overall site plan.
Yeah, and then we go down, we got this, and we got this.
Yep. Great.
So tell us about what you've done here.
Neil, do you want to just lead them through that?
Yes, yeah, I can do that. I can see it on my screen on my computer. I'm audioed on my phone. So.
Okay, so I wasn't sure you were blackout. Okay, great.
We're looking at the sheet that shows where you put the culvert in, the cross in there.
Right. So the changes to this plan from the previous one was, if you zoom in by the detached garage near the pond.
Yep.
We have added a dividing line where the first 640 feet of the driveway coming in from Fire Road 16 to just before the detached garage is going to be a gravel driveway.
Yep.
And then at that point, we are proposing to have pavement. So we've reduced the amount of pavement for the driveway significantly by making the first 640 feet gravel. You can see right by this benchmark in the oak tree is a little line dividing the driveway perpendicular to the edges of the driveway.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, that's where it breaks. So that's where the pavement would, the gravel would end and the pavement would start from that point towards the detached garage and up to the house.
Yep.
The other change was, it was discussed at the last meeting, could a span be built? I think Mr. Dwyer brought it up across the entire floodplain, which is quite a span. So what we've done to kind of improve how much water or air, void spaces in the floodplain, we've added a second open bottom culvert next to the previous one. So now it'll be kind of like two upside down chamber units side by side, creating a little bit wider span than we had before, obviously doubling the span that we had before. And as Mr. Butler has brought up in the last meetings, is that the commission has the ability to waive the construction of the compensatory storage if the commission deems that it's minimal, which in our opinion we do. So I have removed from the plan the proposed construction of compensatory storage on both sides of the driveway, which was quite a bit of activity within the 0 to 30 foot buffer zone. So we've reduced our disturbance within the 30-foot buffer zone for the crossing from the previous, which was around 6,500 square feet, and we're now at about just shy of 4,300 square feet. So We've reduced that by, doing quick math here, 2,200 square feet, which was mostly associated with the compensatory storage construction. The additional revisions to the plan were just on sheet 3, where some, before you change, we also, because we removed the proposed compensatory storage construction, I moved the 16-inch culvert that we had on the other plan closer to the chambers, just so that's there. Yeah, so on sheet 3 here, we just modified the compensatory storage numbers to show that we're not proposing to build any. And as we've discussed in multiple meetings here, is that because the features of this property are so sandy, the water's not necessarily moving side to side as it is moving up and down through the soils. So the area that we're filling is only 272 cubic feet for the crossing, which again, because we added a second chamber, as you can see in that boulder head wall detail, we've now filled less floodplain because of that proposal. So far we've taken 650 feet of paved driveway, made it gravel. We've added a second open bottom culvert, filling less floodplain. We've removed the proposed compensatory storage, minimizing the disturbance within the 30-foot buffer zone to the vegetated wetlands and isolated wetland. And then the other changes that we made were associated with the proposed plantings, which is on the next sheet, I believe, proposed page 4. Yeah. So we had some proposed planting areas in that detail to the right. In front of the detached garage, we were moving the driveway outside of the 50-foot buffer zone before we go back into it. But we had to the right of that proposed garage, down towards the isolated wetland, we had proposed to do some mitigation plantings in there, which we don't need anymore because we're just going to leave that vegetation as is. That was where we were going to access for our proposed compensatory storage construction. And then at the top of that page, Mr. Chairman, if you scroll up to the top. Excellent. Again, we have some mitigation plantings between the proposed house and Lake Shirley there to the left of the house. And at the very top of that page off to the right corner, it talks about replanting where we're removing the proposed impervious areas that are shown in the detail on the left. We're pointing out all those details. Yeah, there's a note in the upper right corner about mitigation planting area B. We're removing about 1,200 square feet over in that detail to the left side of the plan. We had talked about removing all those impervious camper pads, paved and concrete, and we would do some plantings out there as well. So at the bottom of the planting plan, I added that we've added more plantings. We've added an additional, I think it's 4 or 6 oak trees to be, 4 more oak trees to be built, to be planted out there, especially where those camper pads are. So primarily those are the major changes, which we feel are significant changes to the plan. And then Mr. and Mrs. McGurn had made the proposal of a conservation land restriction area. At the last meeting, we talked about that area being about 3.7 acres. But then the thought was brought up, well, let's encompass everything at least within the 50-foot buffer zone of the wetland area that is of most concern in the opinion of Brian Butler. And then, so we did that. So we've actually increased that offer to put land and land restriction to 4 acres. And then I've provided, in the letter, I had provided some breakdown of what that land area is, because there was a question one of the members, I think it was Mr. Dwyer, brought up, is what's the breakdown of upland, wetland of that 4 acres. So I can quickly run through that. So 1.3 acres of that land is wetland out of the 4. So 2.7 is upland. And of that 2.7, 0.9 acres is in the 0 to 50 foot buffer zone. 0.4 is within, 0.4 acres is within the 50 to 100 foot buffer. And the remaining 1.4 acres is outside the 100 foot buffer zone. So there's a breakdown of that land restricted area that was requested. So again, you know, this is nearly a 16 acre site. We're disturbing less than 6% of it for this project. And that's including disturbance of the existing cart path and creating it into a more functional gravel driveway for the 640 feet of it. And we've improved our crossing, minimized our disturbance within the floodplain and within the 0 to 30 foot buffer zone. But so with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back to you unless Mr. Butler wants to add in.
Yeah, just Neil, in your summary document you referenced, because I think there was some question on the September 1 site walk about the number of trees to be cut as necessary to support the project. And it's, I think we calculated it was 27 trees over 6 inches diameter, predominantly where the house footprint is now around that concrete pad, and that there's going to be really no tree cutting to facilitate the driveway, which we discussed. And I think most of the members that were present could see that it's an existing haul road, cart road, camper road, whatever, that we're taking advantage of to for the driveway. So that, you know, on 16 acres of land, we are cutting basically 27 trees in the buffer zone, and we're planting quite a bit of renaturalizing quite a bit of it where we were removing impervious concrete and hardscape materials.
Correct. That's exactly a good point.
Questions or comments from commissioners? Jack Rabbit.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. Neil, Butch, Brian, thank you so much. Taking us out on that site walk, it struck me at the end of it how important a site walk really is, and the impressions. First of all, it was a spectacular piece of property. You know, the forested areas, even, I know you're gonna think I'm nuts, but there's some scientific basis to it. There was just off the wind off the lake sweeping through that, negative ions and all that good stuff, if you believe in that. It was just spectacular, and I absolutely loved it. And I appreciate the conversation we had. Specifically, I guess the first thing we came across was the issue of the road and the impervious area and shifting it over to a packed gravel. I was definitely appreciative of that, but at the same time, later on, I started looking and doing some more research as much as I possibly could to understand that. And I believe your road is now 10 feet wide. Is that what that is? I couldn't really read it.
Yeah, it's 10 feet wide with 2 foot shoulders on either side.
2 foot shoulders. Okay, so 10 foot's not all that wide. And the question of, okay, when you plow in snow, how far are you pushing it in? And so that became a question. And then the next question that came up was, okay, you're going to start digging ruts and things like that, and you're going to start putting pressure on that esker. And I even went out and did research on esker sensitivities. And Brian, you'd like that, right? Half the reports are out of Norway and places like this. They're old glacial tills that'll sat along a river, right? And but the fact of it is, they are very sensitive. And the fact of it is that they do provide an important element in terms of providing water into Lake Shirley, because they perk down, and generally, they show up about 18 feet off the edge or 18 feet of water. And so I said, oh, okay, now here I am running off a gravel road, and it's getting some traffic, and I'm plowing it and I'm pushing it off the side. And I know you mentioned that you were going to be building it up, but you're still pushing it off. So now I'm having the concerns with regard to the sensitivity of the esker and the actions associated with driving across it.
And now it's not just 10 feet. Now I'm pushing snow probably a few feet beyond that on both sides. And you're taking out more of these smaller trees, even though I guess during our conversation, you gave me a number, and I believe it was 8 inches. And then we asked where the 8 inches come from. And then there was a 6-inch. And I don't believe our standards differentiate between a 4-inch tree and a 6-inch tree, with the exception of what would the replacement rate would be at. So I'm seeing that, okay, there is going to be a lot of stress placed on that esker. Okay, I'm still moving along. And then and you know, the thing hasn't been touched in 50 years and it's looking pretty good. But I then started looking around at other questions that I would have. Jack? Yeah. Can you wrap it up? Okay, I'm trying to get it. Okay, the next question, Bob, but thank you, I will. Okay, the next question I had was, wait a second, I was on the Board of Health for 6 years, and I happen to recall that the regulation said nothing within 100 feet. In fact, Section 2 of Article 4 says it's got to be 100 feet. Have you gone to the Board of Health yet?
Yeah, we're all approved.
You approved, the Board of Health approved it?
Yes.
They did. Because usually they won't approve it if there's an alternative. And I'm surprised that they would do that. What convinced them that could
Jack, let's stick to wetlands.
I am sticking to wetlands because it's within the 100 feet. Okay, and then the next question I had, have you gone to the planning board yet?
The property has been in front of the planning board, and they deemed it a buildable lot, so yes.
They deemed it a buildable lot. Okay, now what with the layout, is there a requirement that there was a equipment turnaround on the radius of 60 feet?
I don't know if that was a requirement yet.
I don't think, we don't know of any requirements.
Yeah, if you go take a look at 325 attachment 5, Town of Lunenburg Schedule E, they talk about a heavy equipment turnaround like fire engines and things. I don't know. But then I get back to this wetland crossing piece. And then I say, okay, why are we doing this? Because generally we don't do that unless there's no other place to put the dwelling or it's trapped. So all of a sudden I get all these other questions going on, and it's a beautiful piece of land. And honestly, I'm having some severe angst over this whole thing. And at this point, I'm having a really hard time making a negative determination.
Well, no, we're looking for a positive approval, actually.
Yeah, Jack, this is not a.
I'm sorry.
You know why?
I'm having a hard time saying yes.
Okay, so you're a no.
That, Mr. Chairman,
you're a no, correct?
At this point, I'm a no.
All right. Other comments or questions from commissioners? Carl Luck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I share a lot of concerns that Mr. Rabbit has. It's unfortunate because this is a beautiful piece of land. It's fairly large, but I'll go as quickly as I can through my list, just through discussion. Certainly, to begin with, there's certainly other locations on this 13 plus acres of land that a house could be built. So this is not the only area, and if this is denied, it doesn't mean we're denying development of this property. To reach this location, I'm very concerned. We're going through a lot of sensitive 30-foot no-touch areas, and we're touching an awful lot of 30 feet to this part of the property that you wouldn't have to do if it was put elsewhere. The proposed road is you got to walk the site to see how on the crown of an esker this is. I mean, this is a very narrow crown, and in places we couldn't get 14 feet across the path that this is going. So, it's the sides, and it's going to go beyond 10 feet, and we're going to go over the edge of that crown, I'm sure. The gravel, I think I know how you got there, but I think the gravel is worse. I don't like the pavement and the imperviousness, but the gravel is not going to be pervious. I think you're honest, acknowledge that, packed gravel is not pervious either. So I'm not sure. I think if it goes this way, I would rather see pavement because it'll be more stable, because that esker is, as I said, very narrow and not really very stable. The septic system concerns me. I would like to see, before we go further, there must have been a waiver given. Is that the Board of Health must have given a waiver on this, because it is a requirement that you cannot put a septic within 100 feet. So I would like to see a copy of the waiver, because the Board of Health is required for that waiver to justify. So I'd like to see what the justification was, and if they really took into account the wetland, or just giving a waiver based on public health issues. You know, the town has that 100-foot, you know, no septic within 100 feet for a very good reason, to protect the wetlands. And that's our job. And I'm only used to them giving waivers when there's a pre-existing condition, not on necessarily on new lots. So I'd be interested in seeing the waiver that the Board of Health, the justification for the waiver from the Board of Health, if that indeed has been given. The other issue is that this is clearly not a complete plan. You know, there's no shown, you know, how the access to the lake is going to be, where paths to the lake, and how you're going to use the lake, where docks would be. So the plan doesn't seem to be complete in that regard. Let's see, two more. If this does pass, if this does get the sufficient vote, I would strongly recommend some discussion before the vote on putting some additional conditions or restrictions to, you know, we've quite often, in cases that are this sensitive, essentially move the 30-foot no touch out to the 50-foot, and I think we should have a discussion on that. We have in other cases. I'm not sure we have all the information that just came in today. I'm not sure we have all the information that was requested before. There was some questions on the math that were given, that were pointed out at the last meeting. I don't know if that's in this information. I think we need to be given time to review that. This now I guess we've gotten down now trees over 6 inches, and we just keep kind of picking numbers in terms of what trees we're counting, what trees we're not. Our regulation doesn't restrict it to 6 inches either, and I'm not sure what the replacement strategy is over 6 inches. It's not clear to me that the how many are over the 8, and there's a 2-to-1 requirement for over 8 inches. I haven't had time, and if it's on the plan, I haven't had time to review the number of trees, not shrubs. I mean, shrubs, you know, are good. In some cases, they're better, but trees have a very unique function, and we can't just replace trees with shrubs. And I'm also curious in terms of the planning board. You said you've been before the planning board. If the site plan was reviewed there, I don't know what the regulations are on turnarounds. I know we've run into some. We've had some hearings where for fire trucks and heavy equipment was a big deal. If we haven't been through the planning board and there are such requirements, then it's possible that this plan will change. So, you know, I'd like to make sure we see the final plan before we take a vote. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Todd Dwyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Jack in regards to the site walk being informative. I hadn't had a chance to walk the site before. The cart paths that cross the wetland where the proposed dwelling is, really it's a hard packed gravel road that they're then going to fill upon to reduce the grade there to make it safer to pass. They're going to have very little disturbance to the existing wetlands there, and I fully support the plan for them to do it. I had initially asked, you know, if they could use some sort of structure to cross that, but after being out there, I realized it was completely unnecessary. With regard to where the proposed house is sited, while they do cross between the two existing wetlands, I think where they've sited the house is actually going to be the least disturbance they could that will occur to that esker. If they tried to go site a house further south on that esker, the grading that would be required to establish a area for residents would be quite severe. I think would have a greater impact on that esker, even though the portion where they would set it may be out of the 50 foot. I think would have a much greater and more detrimental effect on the stability of that esker. So after being on the site walk, it turned me around, and I fully support the application as presented, and especially with the enhancements that were presented tonight. I think it's a good plan, and I'll vote to support it.
Thank you, Todd. Rich Birch.
At this point, Carl and Jack eloquently described my concerns with the development of this property and the location of the house as it stands. One of our jobs in looking at putting a waiver or agreeing to a waiver is, can the disturbance be eliminated? And at least in my mind, it looks like the house can be sited someplace else on the property. While it may not be to the applicant's desire, unfortunately, to eliminate the need for the waiver and the development within the wetland and the protected areas, the house does look like it can be moved out of that sensitive area. So I won't belabor the rest of the points. Jack and Carl made them eloquently, so I would not be in favor of this as cited today.
Thank you, Richard. My personal opinion is that I would be in favor of the application as presented. I would vote for it. I agree with Todd that putting the house in this location is probably has the least impact on the environment than any place else. This is a previously disturbed location. You put it anywhere else out there, you're going to an undisturbed location, and you're going to have to do one heck of a lot of grading, given the topography out there. And so I would be in favor of it as presented. We have two other members who are not present tonight who had previously just declared that they would be in favor of it as presented. Katie Childs and Ken Jones. But they're not here tonight to vote. This is Todd's last night. Todd won't be here at the next meeting. If we have a new member, the new member would not be able to participate in the votes because you can only miss one public hearing and sign a Mullins form. If you miss more than one public hearing, you can't sign a Mullins form and participate in the vote. And so to me, the applicant has two choices. They could withdraw their app if they want to get this thing passed. And it's just my personal opinion. The applicant could take and withdraw their application and reapply, or they could decline to agree to a continuance, and it could be referred to the DEP for lack of action.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Well, you know, we agreed to go to a gravel driveway because it seemed to be something that the board was more favorable. Honestly, we're open to paving it or whatever makes more sense to everybody. So we're flexible on that. You know, the home fits within the requirements of what the board allows. The planning board's approved it. The septic system's been approved. We have DEP approval. I don't understand what else we can do to make this viable. You know, and like you said, both Ken and Katie have agreed to go forward with the project, and we're having a hard time getting meetings. It's just been very difficult, and I don't know what else to do to make this.
Joanne, I would tell you that the commission would be totally within its right to deny the application. I mean, they have that within their power. It's totally within their right. It's also totally within their right to approve the application, you know, but they'd have to grant the waiver, you know, but you need 4 votes. You don't have them. And that's the long or the short of. Todd, do you have your hand up?
Oh, I don't. I just never took it down, Bob.
All right. And so, you know, to me, it's my personal opinion, you have to choose one of those two choices. I don't perceive that I don't think we're gonna, you know, based on the straw poll and everyone's remarks, there's not 4 votes for it, and there's not 4 votes against it tonight. It's a 3-2 vote tonight. Or it would be if we, you know, if we had a motion.
So we have 3 people for it and 2 against it.
No, you have 3 people against it tonight and 2 people for it tonight.
And we need to have 4?
You have to have 4 for it or 4 against it, you know, for there to be action.
So, Bob, just so I understand, and I'm not questioning your Robert rules on your order here. Is it 4 or would it be 3 tonight? You only have 5 members.
4.
It's
still always 4.
You're not showing. So you have.
It's that's according to if you look at our regulations.
I just wasn't sure if it was a majority vote on a quorum, on what your quorum is.
No, it's a majority vote of the full commission.
A full commission, okay. All right, so I would request that we have an extension to make some of the modifications to the plan is.
If you take and you do an extension, I don't know what good that's gonna do you, because the new I don't think the 3 members who are against it are gonna change their mind.
What was the mulligan thing?
You know, what were your?
So if Todd's not going to be here next week, would his vote still count?
No.
I don't understand the mulligan.
Mr. Chairman, this is Neil Gorman. May I ask a quick question just to confirm what you're saying?
Yep.
So if the vote goes 3-2 tonight, that equals a lack of action because you don't have 4 votes to deny it. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, that's a lack of action.
Because you don't have 4 votes you need 4 votes to deny it. Is that, in my understanding, the 4 votes of the full commission?
We need 4 votes to deny it or 4 votes to approve it.
Okay, so a 3-2 tonight against it is not a denial. It is a lack of action, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
At least that's my understanding, you know. That's correct, that the motion will not pass.
Right, but it's not a denial that if we were to appeal, it's not a denial that we go to land court or superior court to appeal the local bylaw. It's just a lack of action, and then we proceed however we want from there.
That's right.
Which is possibly appealing to DEP.
But that's just my understanding, and I'm not.
Right. So if we continue tonight and come back at the next meeting and we only have, if say Katie is there, okay? And we have the 6 members that have been, well, is Katie completely out now that she's missed too many meetings?
No.
Okay, if we came back and it was a 3-3 tie at the next meeting, that still doesn't change anything in the sense of it being.
It's still a lack of action.
Correct, okay.
Neil, let's go with the lack of action then.
Tonight or next meeting?
Tonight.
Yeah.
It's your call.
Well, it's not my call, it's the commission's call.
No, I'm talking to my client. I'm sorry, because I don't have.
Yes, tonight.
Neil to Butch, that's whatever he wants to do, it's his call.
Yeah, we'll go with the lack of action tonight.
Well, we don't have a lack of action until we have a vote to continue. You know, if we have a vote to continue and 4 people vote to continue, then it'll be continued to next week. And so you won't have a lack of action.
But we would have to request to continue, correct? It's not up to the board, it's up to
That's true. Wait, let's hear what Richard Birch knows a lot more about the stuff than I do. Let's hear what he has to say.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to approve the application as submitted.
Second.
Okay. And so further discussion. I would say to those people who don't like the application that you have a choice. You can approve it as submitted, or if they go for a lack of action, the bylaw goes away entirely and the bylaw does not apply.
I would just offer that I don't quite agree with that interpretation myself, but I am not a lawyer.
And neither am I. That is my understanding, and I could be totally wrong.
Butch, We can't, do we have any more
We
say,
have, we
Mr.
have
Chair?
to, we have to rely on the commission here to make a vote in favor.
All right, so but, a motion has been made and seconded. There further discussion? Roll call vote. Rich Birch.
No.
Carl Luck.
No.
Jack Rabbit.
No.
Todd Dwyer.
Aye.
Bob Pease votes aye. So it's a 3-2 vote.
Thank you guys for your time.
So therefore, it's not not approved. It's also not denied because it's not. My understanding, it's also not denied.
Okay, well,
Thank you, guys.
thank you for your time and all the time and effort everybody's put into reviewing this information. I do apologize to getting it to you late. And on a side note, I've been before the commission for years, and I just want to say thank you for all you've done. I am wrapping up my time here at Ross Associates shortly, and I may not be before you again unless something comes up. So thank you all, and it was a pleasure meeting you all, and I wish you the best.
Good luck, Neil.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right.
Thank you. Good night.
That concludes our 10 public hearings. Enforcement actions, Matt's not here. New business, Chapter 61 release request for 360 Flat Hill Road. So let's take a look at 360 Flat Hill Road. Let's stop sharing the screen. We're down to, Steve, why are you here?
I've been waiting for 422 Mulpus Road since the beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not on, I'm looking at the wrong agenda.
That's no problem.
I'm sorry, let's do a public hearing on 422 Mulpus Road.
Sounds good.
Remember I said at the beginning that there was 3 versions of the agenda?
Well, I figured I'd be patient.
You've been very patient, Steve, and I apologize.
That's no problem. I just didn't want you to close out the hearing and forget me.
No, let's see. I'm looking for it. I'll find it.
We were like 3rd or 4th on the revised one from this.
Here it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you were 5th. I'm so sorry.
That's no problem.
Pursuant to the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Solovi Trust for work at 422 Mulpus Road. The work is for the improvement of an existing driveway wetland crossing to accommodate a single-family home.
Very good.
So, Steve, I believe.
Do you have the plan?
We have a plan, and I will do my best to get it up on the screen. It'll take me a minute or two.
No problem.
Or 22 Mulpus.
If we'd been live, I would have been jumping up and down in the back of the room so you would have seen me. But since we're not live.
Mr. Chairman, if I could interject, I was on the sidewalk on this, and I think it's pretty straightforward, and I think and I would support it, and I don't think there'll be any issues. And without our agent here, we're going to not have much more to do, so I'm going to drop now.
Okay.
Good night.
Minutes to 10. Yeah.
Oh, first let's share the screen. Did I share the screen yet?
It's up there.
Oh, it is
Yep,
up.
you're going through the notice of intent. Keep going.
Okay. Let me get this down to 75%. Tell me when to stop, Steve.
Keep going. Actually, that's the plan. If you can go down to a little further down on that plan and over, then scooch. Oh, go backwards.
Backwards, up.
Yeah, there we go.
Right here.
So basically, we've got an open field that's currently mowed 4 times a year by Donnie Sullivan. We're proposing to put a house out in the open field. All of the work associated with the house and yards are outside the 100-foot buffer zone. But in order to get the driveway in, we're going to utilize that field. I apologize for missing the site walk. So I wish I had been there. The location of the driveway was placed there because as you maybe commission members know or don't know, I live on Mulpus and I travel Cross Road multiple times a day. And I know the person who lives right across the street at 102 Cross Road, and his driveway, we need to keep it as low as possible because of the sight distance. He's actually been hit 4 times coming out of his driveway. So we're trying to keep it as low as possible. Otherwise, I would have moved it further out of the buffer zone. But we put the driveway there, and then there's the existing crossing, which I understand you walked. And then we get up and out, and we have stone recharge trenches on each side of the driveway in the proposed work so that we don't have any runoff going into the wetlands from the proposed driveway. So I think it's pretty straightforward. We had proposed it paved because my feeling is that a gravel driveway becomes impervious, and I'd rather have a paved driveway which then is stabilized, and then you understand what the limit of disturbance is, because once the grass grows in next to the pavement, it's stabilized and taken care of. If I have any questions from the commission, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions or comments from the commission? Let me call up our 6 participants that are left. Todd. I'm sorry, Rich.
Steve, I just didn't happen to see, do you have a diagram or replacement for the existing pipe to make sure that it can withstand the traffic going over it in the future?
Yeah, no, the culvert that's there, Donnie put in, and he's been driving over it with the hay wagons and the trucks, and we've driven over it repeatedly. It's a corrugated metal pipe. I can't, since I wasn't there when they installed it, I can't verify that it was H20, but there's been absolutely, it's as stable as can be. And we've driven over it with some pretty heavy equipment. All the backhoes and stuff have driven over it. I don't anticipate any problems with it, Rich.
Okay, so you're just leaving the existing pipe in place?
Correct. So there'll be no disturbance. We'll just go right over it. There's no need for any head walls because we're not doing any significant grade change. So we have no head walls proposed or anything. It's actually very simple.
Okay, yeah, no, it was clean flowing when we were there. It didn't look like it had any clogs at either end or any infiltration through the pipe at the crossing. So I just didn't know if you're going to replace it with a PVC to make sure you didn't have problems moving forward or not.
No, we're just going to leave it right the way it is. Less disturbance.
Okay, that was my only question on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? This is an NOI.
Mr. Chair, I had a question.
Yes, sir.
Just looking at the plan on the screen, it looks like as we get closer to the crossing, the driveway is within the 50-foot. It's hard to tell because the 50-foot is not shown on the plan. At least I'm not picking it up if it is. We have the 30-foot.
Yeah, the 30-foot is shown, so clearly the driveway is within the 50-foot, but I can't avoid that since we're with the way the crossing is. In order to get through and use that existing culvert, I will be within that 50-foot. but there's no structure shown. It's just the driveway.
Well, could you move the driveway? Could you loop it down to minimize the pavement within the 50 foot rather than the straight shot?
I could, Todd, but if we were on, if I wish I hadn't made the site visit, but I'd end up doing more grading and more disturbance if I try to go up to the north and loop up. I end up creating more disturbance in the 100-foot buffer zone because I'd have to grade significant to take care of the grading. Whereas right now, I'm following the grades, so I'm minimizing disturbance.
Sure.
I'm
And
pretty much following the existing grades. So, and that was the idea, was least amount of disturbance.
And where you entered that, as you said previously, is so you don't impact other driveways?
Yeah, and also the site distance on Cross Street is terrible as I go further north.
Yeah, I live on Mulpus as well, and I use this road every day when I go to work and come back.
Yeah, so as you come down and you go by the existing house, the Lavoie's house, and you go over that hill, you know that you can't see, you can't see.
Yeah.
So I try to put it as low as possible and then stay out of the 30-foot no touch. Try to pick the best spot.
Yep.
Anything more, Todd?
No.
Jack Rabbit.
Steve, do you, in that, you know, right by the crossing, and it seemed like it was pretty, even though it wasn't delineated as such, it seemed like it was pretty wet in through there. The grass was growing beautifully, given the fact that nothing else wants to grow real well up until these last storms. Would you be better off, I believe you might get some flexing. Would you be better off using a crushed stone or something instead of the tar, and therefore you get away from the reduction of permeability and all the other stuff?
I can do that, Jack, but what I found over the history of doing site work is that crushed stone, as soon as I start plowing, crushed stone ends up pushing off the sides, pushing off the edge.
Right.
And I'm going to create more maintenance issues into the 30-foot no touch and 50-foot no build by having an unstabilized surface.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we did the infiltration trenches, so that we're making sure that we make sure that there's no issue with drainage from the driveway. So we're taking care of that. So we're recharging everything right on site and right adjacent to the driveway.
Yeah, I had a 560-foot driveway that had crushed stone because it was very similar to this running along a wetland. And essentially, yeah, you're right. The plow does push it off the side. And then what you do is you get it in the spring and you flip the blade around and you push it back. It stays impermeable.
But then I'm working off the driveway, Jack. I'm trying to make it so that there's a clear demarcation of the pavement, and then you don't disturb anything outside that 10-foot pavement. I mean, that's it.
Okay.
You're not working outside of that 10-foot. You know, I don't want to promote people now going down and, you know, working outside of that driveway.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, in the plan set, or Steve, is there a detail on the infiltration trench?
Yes, it's on that same plan. If you go up and to the right on that plan, but it shows a crushed stone. If you go now, yep. So we have the detail of a stone infiltration trench, 2 feet by 2 foot crushed stone.
And that will be along the entire driveway length except at the crossing?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Jack, do you have your hand up still?
No, I apologize, Bob.
That's quite all right. I'm looking for a motion. Since we have no public.
We can go home now?
I'll make a motion to approve the plan as presented and issue a standard order of conditions.
Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Um, Seeing no further discussion, a roll call vote. Rich Birch,
Aye.
Todd Dwyer,
Aye.
Jack Rabbit,
Aye.
and I for myself.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Steve, I'm sorry for the delay.
That's all right. That's one of the joys of Zoom.
All right.
Very good. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Good night.
Matt's not here to talk about enforcement. I'm going to move on to the chapter 61A release of 360 Flat Hill Road. Let me stop sharing the screen. Let's call up the we'll go to Lunenburg, Mass. We'll go to 360 Flat Hill Road. And so let's share. So here's 360 Flat Hill Road. It's between Cortlandt Circle and Wall Street and Page Street here. It's presently an apple orchard. And I personally have no interest in exercising our right of first refusal. Todd, how do you feel about it?
I agree with you.
Jack Rabbit?
Bob, I don't see any abutting properties we can easily access to make it more public. I don't see a need.
There are some conservation properties down on Page Street here.
Are they? Oh,
but they're not abutting.
okay. Yeah,
and it's an apple orchard.
Right.
Rich, how do you feel about it? Rich?
Is that when we scream, "Wake up"?
At least he's not snoring.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he's still here. Otherwise, we have to adjourn because we have no quorum.
Oh, good idea. Did I say that? Yes.
Well, because there's one important piece of business we have to do.
Adjourn?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to text him.
Yeah, please. We have to reaffirm our vote to have a warrant for 111 Mulpus Road rear and 970 New West Townsend Road rear, because we have a member of the Board of Selectmen who feels that the notice in the last meeting was not sufficient, and we have an open meeting law violation. Thank you, Richard. Oh, I thought he was there. His mute appeared for a minute.
You want to try and call him? I know, Todd, you're texting him.
I am. I'm texting him now. His phone's working, but he's not responding. He had said earlier that his router was being a little buggy.
My internet's been terribly fluky. usually during the school day. I don't think it was meant to handle all that video zooming by all these students throughout town.
Yeah.
Try calling one right to voicemail.
Oh, I'm trying to call him. Hey, Rich, we need for you to be online just for one more. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, he's gonna be on in a second.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, he's on now. He's saying he's on now. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, guy, thank you.
Hello. I was just in that heated discussion with Matt.
Oh, are you back, Rich? Rich? Rich?
He's there. Just didn't. Huh.
Richard?
Now he's back.
Now he's muted. As long as he's muted, we don't have a quorum.
There we go. Yeah, my internet dropped again.
Okay. Rich, I got two important pieces of business I got to do, and then we can, I guess we can defer the rest of it. How do you feel about 360 Flat Hill Road? It's apple orchard, a right of first refusal.
How big is the property, Bob? I see it up on your screen sharing. I just don't see the size of it.
Here, let's do this. It is 23 acres.
Oh, wait. Is that the apple orchard that
It is the apple orchard.
the snow riders use to cross over onto another piece of property that eventually get?
I don't believe so. I believe they're over here.
Okay.
It's over here to get down to Lake Shirley.
Yeah.
Is there any adjoining conservation land with that one piece of property?
Well, here, give me a minute. I'm going to call up the open space plan, which has a thing. Okay, it'll take me just a minute. Here we go. All right, so now let's share that screen instead. Hello, Matthew. You're on with just me and the four commissioners. I don't need you for anything. No, we're still meeting a bit, but I'm going to cut it short because we only got 4 people and Richard's internet is fluky. So, all right, thank you. Yeah, bye. So here's the parcel in question. You know, and there's 2 conservation parcels over here. And this is a conservation parcel over there. Can you see those on your screen? Or am I talking to myself here?
Can you point it again, Bob?
Sure, I can zoom in. Oh, Jesus.
Mary Joseph.
Well, I'm trying to, on my screen, all your wonderful pictures are over the part of the screen that I need to access to get to show that. Here we go. So this is the parcel. It's in this is the parcel. It's in question. It's in 61A. You know, this is farmland. This is Allison's farm here, the brown piece.
Yeah.
You know, this is a conservation parcel. This is a conservation parcel, and these down here are in 61A or 61B or something or other. I mean,
What is the asking price, Bob, or the agreed upon price?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I have no clue.
That'd be good to know.
I think it's being, I saw something before the planning commission where they're gonna turn it into house lots, so I imagine it's a pretty piece.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw, let me see. Let me look at my email from Elaine Peterson. Because those emails come from Elaine Peterson. No, it didn't come from Elaine Peterson. Must have come from Matt Morrow.
Yeah, unfortunately, without a price, my first gut feeling would be it will not be within our budget.
Well, the other
23 acres.
While you were away, none of the rest of us are interested in it, Rich.
Yeah, no, at this point, no, it doesn't really meet much of the criteria. No, the biggest one to me is the price, and you know, Saliba's was in the $3,000 an acre, so I don't really picture this piece of property going for $70,000.
No, not happening.
Nope.
I'm looking for a motion to say we're not interested.
I would make so motion that we are not interested.
Second.
Roll call vote. Rich Birch.
Aye.
Todd Dwyer.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
Jack, and I for myself. I'm looking for a motion to reaffirm the vote that we want to have a warrant article to move 111 Mopus Road rear and 970 New West Townsend Road rear from the care and control of the Conservation Commission to the care and control of, from the care and control of the Board of Selectmen to the care and control of the Conservation Commission.
I would make that motion, Mr. Chair, with just one comment. At our last meeting, this decision was drawn into question, and I believe we as a group had acted and voted on a list that you presented to move forward with such activity.
Yep.
So I don't necessarily believe that we have to do a second vote where we had already voted on the list and these properties were included in that list.
I totally and 100% agree with you. But given that it's been called into question and given that I'm sure the person who called it into question will bring it up at the special town meeting, I think it's prudent to take such a vote.
I agree. I just wanted to make that comment that we had already acted on it. So
Thank you.
I do make the motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, roll call vote. Rich Birch.
Aye.
Todd Dwyer.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
And I for myself. Is there anything else on the rest of the agenda that anybody wants to take up?
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if we can, going back to the 16 Fire Road, or Fire Road 16, where there is a possibility that we did not have a final action on that. Should we continue that hearing?
We can't, we don't have the applicant's permission.
Okay, is that your feeling, Mr. Chairman?
That is my, without the permission of the applicant, I don't think we can continue.
Okay.
I would agree.
I was going to go over tonight, all those legal questions that I asked, that I asked Adam Costa, but I always prefer to wait until more people are present, to hear what he had to say.
I second that.
And and the administrator's determination will have to wait. And I don't see there anything else there that's urgent. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Rich Birch.
Aye.
Todd Dwyer.
Aye.
Jack Rabbit.
Aye.
I for myself, Todd, you will be so missed.
You sure will. You son of a gun.
Thank you so much for being on the commission.
Yes, Todd, it was an honor serving with you.
Mm-hmm. We'll miss you.
Likewise.
But I'm sure Jackie will enjoy the time.
I think she will.
All right.
I'll put in a request to join.
All right. By the way, FYI, I reached out to Bob Verge to see if he'd be interested in coming back. He said no.
Nope.
And I'm beating the bushes. But
What about Greg Roy?
Can't. He has a conflict of interest because he's a principal in Ducharme and Dillis that does work for the town.
No.
So that's why he ended up leaving the first time when he became a principal in Ducharme, as it was a conflict of interest.
Yeah, bummer.
Yes, yeah, because he was an excellent member.
Yeah.
All right, well, anyway, good night, all.
Good night, Bob. Have a good
night.
Good job.
Say hi to Joan.
Now, yes, Joan's getting better.
Yes, she is.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.